I'm Sean Seal, and this is
Jill Seal.
And we're the owners of Sierra Nevada Adventure Company. When we started selling kayaks, of course we had to stock stuff, and we needed a lot of room for kayaks, so our home and our garage was the backstock for my pickup truck. And eventually we had to have a location, and that's when we opened our store in Sonora. The motto that we're working under right now is that we're just trying to have fun, and that goes for among our staff. We really enjoy each other's company, and we choose to recreate together. And also with our customers, we try to have fun with them too. We try to communicate our passion for the outdoors, and I think I can speak for my staff as well as my wife that, we feel privileged that our customers support us and give us the freedom to have a business that is not only appreciated by our customers and our employees, but we appreciate as well. Every morning I get up thankful that I believe in what I do, and that it's adding something to our community. And it's never lost on me that without our customers it wouldn't be possible.
It was a normal day for Jack until
it happened so fast.
In a moment, the lives of Jack and his family abruptly changed.
Dad!
Please always call before you dig to locate underground utilities like cable TV lines. Just dial 811 to reach your one-call locate center.
It could have been worse. How?
Don't let this happen to you. Call before you dig. A helpful hint to improve your day.
This is where unconditional love and unmeasurable happiness reside. This is home. Coldwell Banker, where home begins.
Good morning and welcome back to the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors meeting for October 22nd, 2024. If you are able, will you please rise for Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start off with staff announcements this morning. Stacey?
This is a time for county staff to provide updates of upcoming county events that may be of interest to the public.
Morning, Lisa. Come on down.
Good morning, Chair, respective board members. Lisa Medina, Environmental Management Agency. I have a few announcements today. We had our last successful rabies clinic here at the Government Center on Saturday, October 12th. Over 167 rabies vaccines were given. Well, actually, 167 rabies vaccines were given, and 93 microchips. We want to thank Doctors Kathy and Steve Gatlin and our Focus volunteers. As always, the clinics would not be successful without you. For 2024, a total of 700 6 rabies vaccines were given to our community, and 331 microchips, which means that if your animals get lost, they get to go home because our animal service officers will scan them and get them home to you. In collaboration, I kind of want to circle back on our voucher or spay and neuter program and our voucher program. In collaboration with Calaveras Humane Society, we were awarded $175,000 in grant funds that were designated by our governor for animal shelters and administered by the team of the UC Davis Correct Shelter Medicine. We have estimated only 25%, approximately $43,750, has been used of those $175,000 funds. We know that there are a lot of animals in Calaveras County that need spay and neuter, only because we get a lot of kittens and a lot of dogs, unwanted animals at our shelter. And knock on wood, shelter, we have actually a few kennels open, but that is very rare and is very temporary. So we are asking our community, please use those voucher programs. This grant will greatly assist low-income pet owners in Calaveras who might have some challenges affording the spay and neuter vouchers. And also any veterinarian in Calaveras, Amador, and Tuolumne is accepting these vouchers. Almost all the veterinary hospitals throughout our community and the Tri-Counties are accepting these voucher programs. The voucher programs will provide the following discounts on spay and neuter surgeries at participating veterinarians. For female dogs, $250 off. Male dogs, $175 off. Female cats, $175 off. Male cats, $125 off. That's significant. And I know myself, I just had my little Nyla pup spayed, and it was almost $400 for the spay. So this voucher will also provide $20 towards a rabies vaccine and $25 towards a microchip. So who qualifies? Calaveras residents. How does it work? First, you must make an appointment with your veterinarian. And again, most veterinarians in our tri-counties are accepting these vouchers. Once you make the appointment, you need to call us, Calaveras County Animal Services, at 754-6509, or the Humane Society at 209-736-9417. We are so happy for our Calaveras community that this service can be offered, and this program will greatly assist our community, and especially our animals. A huge thank you and a shout out to our partners at the Humane Society for being awesome humans and being part of our Calaveras team and our mission to protect our Calaveras animals and our community. That's all I have.
Thank you, Lisa. Great program. Peter?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I just want to take this opportunity to introduce to you Brett Sampson, who will be stepping into my role starting next month. So my last day here as your interim director will be on November 1st, and Brett will be starting the following Monday. So we're really excited to have him on board, but I want to just give him the opportunity to meet who you are, and so when the smiling faces come knocking at his door, he'll know what it's all about. So, it's been great being here for the last several months, but I am looking forward to going back to retirement.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to say anything?
Just a few short words. I know I have some big shoes to fill. It's part of the reason why I came to the county. I'm very excited to join Teresa's team. I'm honored. I have about 25 years of experience, and I'm very excited to learn everything Calaveras County and what's going on. I have a lot of rural county experience, so I know a lot of what the issues are that Calaveras County is dealing with, and it'll be my job to make sure that what Peter has done continues on into the future, and I'm honored and I'm very excited. Thank you so much.
Well, welcome aboard. And Peter, we'd like to, I think I speak for the board, thank you so much for helping us out again, and I think there might be an agenda item we may not be able to escape from us too quickly.
Yes, I've noticed that.
Thank you, and welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Other staff announcements? Is there any online?
We have none online.
Very well. We'll move on to recognitions and acknowledgments. And
Item 3, proclamation. Clerk of the Board of Supervisors adopt a proclamation honoring PAW's 40th anniversary.
thank you. I'm going to read this one. We've got 4 proclamations this morning, and as PAW's is my neighbor, I get to see their elephants out there, and I feel very close to them. So this is a proclamation, and PAW's, why don't you come on up? bring your team on up to the stand so we could honor you guys all together. All right, welcome. Whereas in 1984, former Hollywood animal trainer, the late Pat Derby, and her partner Ed Stewart founded the Performing Animal Welfare Society, PAWS, to rescue and provide sanctuaries for captive wild animals used for entertainment and to advocate on their behalf. They opened PAWS' first captive wildlife sanctuary in Galt in 1985, and in 1987, PAWS launched a campaign to end the use of elephants in traveling shows, organizing major demonstrations throughout California and garnering national media coverage. And in 1999, Congressman Sam Farr introduced H.R. 2929, PAWS Captive Elephant Accident Prevention Act, to end the use of elephants in entertainment. Pat Derby, Bob Barker, and others testified at a special hearing in Washington, D.C. And in 2002, PAWS officially opened ARC 2000, a 2,300-acre captive wildlife sanctuary located in San Andreas, California, to provide safe refuge for rescued and retired elephants, big cats, bears, and other animals. And in 2013, PAWS co-founder Pat Derby passed away on February 15th and is recognized by news media worldwide. Local, state, and federal governments honor her life's work through dedications, resolutions, and flying the U.S. flag at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And whereas in 2016, ARC 2000 Sanctuary flipped the switch on a solar system that supplies clean, renewable energy for its offices, elephant barns, and other buildings, helping conserve our planet and its wildlife. And in 2017, Pat Derby Animal Wellness Center opened at ARC 2000, providing on-site diagnosis and treatment of the sanctuary's animals in the state-of-the-art veterinary facility. And in 2022, after years of collaborative work by PAWS, animal protection organizations, and big cat sanctuaries, the Big Cat Public Safety Act became law. This groundbreaking legislation prohibits private ownership of certain big cats and ends cruel cub petting operations. And in 2023, PAWS realizes a long-time plan to shutter its two older sanctuaries and bring our animal family together in one location, ARC 2000 Sanctuary. And since its founding, PAWS has rescued more than 250 animals, including 19 elephants, 90 big cats, 19 bears. PAWS works towards a future when wild animals will no longer be held captive for entertainment and profit. Thank you guys very much. Are there any comments from the board? Martin?
Actually, Chris, could you introduce everybody?
Of course. We have Lisa Morgan, who's our office manager. Forgive me if I don't know exactly how many years everyone's been with PAWS, but you're looking at a collective experience of over 100 years with us today, and that's, you know, they're a lot older than they look. And then we have Renee Smith, who's our big cat supervisor, and Brian Buster, who's our sanctuary manager. And frankly, I couldn't work without these guys. They're fantastic, and they've been here a lot longer than I have, and they know a lot more than I do. But we also have a lovely team of volunteers at the back there. Again, many of whom have been with PAWS for a great many years. If I may, I don't know if this is the time to do it. I'd be very grateful just to say a few words of thanks back to the board, if I may. For those of you that don't know, I'm Chris Draper. I'm the Chief Executive of PAWS, which is the Performing Animal Welfare Society. And I'd just like to say on behalf of the staff, the board, and the supporters of PAWS, I'd very much like to express my gratitude to the Board of Supervisors and to Calaveras County as a whole. As you've heard, 40 years ago, the co-founders of PAWS, Ed Stewart and the late Pat Derby, had a vision for an organisation that would lead the world in improving the well-being of wild animals in captivity. We've employed and trained hundreds of people, local people. We've made it a point to utilise services and products from local businesses and suppliers, and we've been a significant draw for visitors and encouraged their positive impact on local hospitality businesses. We've educated a large number of local residents and school children on the serious issues affecting wild animals in captivity and wildlife in general. Calaveras County has provided a supportive and effective base for for a significant proportion of PAWS's past 40 years, and we look forward to a productive and cooperative future where our work continues to help wild animals in captivity across the world while working with and benefiting the local community. The support and recognition of the Board of Supervisors is most welcome. Thank you, Chris.
And I'll just add my comments to Martin. Thank you guys so much for what you do. I haven't been on your facility many times. It is inspirational how you're caring for these animals and giving them happiness. As we discussed, I wish that people wouldn't have these animals that you have to rescue, but you provide them a good life, and perhaps our society will change in the future, and we'll work ourselves out of this job.
It
should be here. And I will open this up. Are there any public comments, or would anybody else like to make a statement before we move this?
This morning,
you guys can say it. We're going to call you back up for a photo, so don't go far.
This morning, I introduced these folks to Chewy, the world's best beagle, and I explained to him that this is my captive petting operation. And they said that doesn't qualify. But they've, over the years, these folks have done a fine job. Really appreciate the work that they do. Earlier this year, they had a controlled burn, and I didn't know it was a controlled burn, and I turned them in. And they've forgiven me for that. So, good people. Thank you very much.
Terry?
Terry McBride, District 2, well received. These are really phenomenal folks. Anybody gets an opportunity to go out to PAWS, it's well worth it. It is a magical place, and their elephants like pumpkins. Because I won a 100-pound one. What the hey do you do with a 100-pound pumpkin? I called them, and they had a really happy elephant that day. So anyway, I think this is a phenomenal proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other public comment? Is there public comment online?
We have no online public comment.
All right, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll move.
Moved by Supervisor Hubbard.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Toffenelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Therefore, be it proclaimed that the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors honors PAW's 40th anniversary, passed and adopted by the Board of Supervisors of Calaveras County, State of California, on the 22nd day of October, 2024. Thank you. Come on up. We're going to take a photo. Everybody take one step backwards. Right. All right. We'll move on to item 4.
Item 4, proclamation. Clerk of the Board of Supervisors, adopt a proclamation honoring the Calaveras Big Trees Association's 50th anniversary.
Thank you. I'll pass the gavel to Supervisor Hubbard.
Thank you, Chair. Whereas the Calaveras Big Trees Association can trace its roots to the original Calaveras Grove Association, organized in 1926 by a group of individuals intent on preserving the historic groves for future generations. And whereas, through their efforts, Calaveras Big Trees Park was born on July 5th, 1931. And whereas in 1974, the Calaveras Big Trees Association was founded with a revised purpose as a private, nonprofit, charitable 501c3 corporation to create, fund, and deliver inspirational, educational, and interpretive programs, as well as encourage visitors to help preserve and protect the Calaveras Big Tree State Park natural resources. And whereas since 1974, CBTA has taken on many projects, including the construction of the present Visitor Center, Museum, and Classroom, building a permanent footbridge at Beaver Creek, and creating the 3 Census Trail. And whereas CBTA funds the student interns, interpretive staff, trail maintenance equipment needs, and an interpretation master plan. And whereas all profits from sales of items sold by the CBTA are reinvested in the Calaveras Big Tree State Park. That's you, Jacob. And whereas CBTA envisions a vibrant and healthy giant sequoias in a premier state park with access for all, inspiring body, mind, and spirit, and generating the motivation to protect and preserve its natural, cultural, and recreational resources. And with that, I'll put it to public comment. Vida.
Hello, and thank you all so much for this honor. I am Avita Kenk. I am on the board of Calaveras Big Trees Association, the nonprofit that is being honored. And I'm a past president. I'm currently vice president or past president. And from now on, I'm going to refer to it as CBTA because Calaveras Big Trees Association is too much to keep saying. Okay. I would like to introduce with me here Jacob Cole, who is our retail manager, and my beloved husband, Bill Minkle, who is, like I am, a docent at the park. So I want to thank you all very much for this honor. And I also feel like I'm receiving this not just for our current board, but also for those who had the foresight and vision to start this many years ago. And some of that you have read here. But I wanted to say that the Calaveras Grove Association, which kind of preceded us but had a different message, was basically formed in 1926 to buy the North Grove from a lumber company, so because it was in danger, and then when the newly formed California State Park System developed in 1931, the North Grove was given to the state to start, and we are the second state park that was founded. The first one, by the way, was Big Basin, in case you're wondering, and notice, both of them have to do with redwoods. Yeah, coastal redwood and giant sequoias. Same family, different genera, but yeah. So I thought that was an interesting point. And then, the work of the Grove Association was not yet over with because they finally were able to purchase the South Grove and add it to the park in 1954. So, thank you for all those ancestors that have helped to build this. Now, CBTA itself was started by a ranger from the state, a young man named Jeff Price, and he saw the need for interpretation as a totally different function from buying land. And so the Calaveras Grove Association, after 10 years of CBTA, which was started in 1974, decided, we're not seeing more land to buy right now, but we don't want to die either. So they made the board an agreement with the CBTA that the board of directors is now also the board of directors for the Grove Association, which still lives and which we have an annual meeting because that's to keep it up with the IRS, rules and all of that, keep it functioning. Now, since that beginning, and you have read some of the things, scholarships for students throughout the nation, throughout California, who are studying in California, colleges to do good things. Now, I want to say that Jacob, there you are, whoever you are, Jacob Cole, our retail manager, is the one who runs the store in the visitor center and also the snack shack, which was his idea to start with. And profits from those two actually are our biggest fundraiser, about 85% of our budget. So go to the park, enjoy it, buy something, and you'll be doing good for yourself because there are many unique items, including the shirt that I am wearing and the earrings I'm wearing, things that you won't find elsewhere. And then the profits will stay at the park for the interpretive programs. Many people think that the entrance fee stays with us. Nope, that goes to the general fund. Just letting you know. So I just want to say a not quite so happy note is that our administrative officer, Sue Hoffman, who's been with us for over 15 years, died in September. And we're a bit in shock, frankly. And Jacob and Debbie, who's our bookkeeper, Debbie McGee, have been taking over her immediate jobs. You know, somebody's got to answer the phone, you know. And that was part of Sue's job. If you ever called the visitor center, that was Sue. And she loved doing events, and she was very, very busy. Well, we're having a celebration of her life this coming Saturday at 2 p.m. in Jackknife Hall. And anybody is invited. It's going to be a very simple ceremony just to honor her and share memories. And if you can't come but would like to share a memory, send it to me, or Martin, would you receive any emails and pass them on? I will be sort of emceeing that event, so I will pass that on. So I just want to say celebration of life for Sue Hoffman, 2 p.m. Jackknife Hall and in the park. And hey, one can go to the winter preparation at Independence Hall in the morning.
There's just so much hope for this county. Having a young lady like this, vibrant and scary, vibrant and able to speak so eloquently on what she believes in. I don't get it over to Highway 4 much. It's a long way from West Point. San Andreas is a long way from West Point, but I do intend to go over there and see the sequoias and visit these fine people that I've become fast friends with. Oh, you're still here. Keep going.
Okay, with that, are there any public comment online?
We have no online public comment.
I'll bring it back to the board.
I'd like to move this item, especially after that great performance and upsell of some wonderful shirt. I'll have to bring my daughter up there to get another one.
And do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like just to read a very quick thing that my great-great-grandmother wrote in 1857 when she visited the park. She said, "When we came into view of the Sierras, the summits covered with snow contrasting so beautifully with the green, it was sublime. And then, at the entrance to the grove, it surpassed all description. I could not help but think how small and insignificant I was compared with all around me, and how little we deserved the goodness of Providence. If anything would awe us and give us grand ideas and make us truly noble, generous, and good, surely all that we see around us would." And I just want to say to the CBTA, you do make us all feel very generous and good. So thank you for all of your work. Oh, hang on just a second. Therefore, be it proclaimed that the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors honor the Calaveras Big Trees Association's 50th anniversary, passed and adopted by the Board of Supervisors of the Calaveras, County of Calaveras, State of California, this 22nd day of October 2024.
All right. Item number 5.
Item number 5, proclamation, Clerk of the Board of Supervisors, adopt a proclamation recognizing California Electric Steel Angels Camp Foundry's 170th anniversary.
Thank you. I will pass the gavel to Supervisor Follendorf.
Thank you. Whereas on October 18, 2024, California Electric Steel Angels Camp Foundry proudly celebrated its 170th anniversary. Established in 1854 by J.M. Rooster, the foundry provided mechanical support to the growing mines in the Mother Lode region. California Electric Steel is the longest family-owned, continuous-running foundry west of the Mississippi. And whereas in 1861 to 1928, the foundry was purchased by D.D. Demis and Thomas Follen, as the ownership changed as the transition from surface mining was made to underground mining. His son operated it until he died in 1977, and then its heirs owned the foundry until 1984. From 1984 to present, the foundry was purchased from the Monteverde estate by Lauren and Joanne Whittle and Norman and Donna Stam. And today their descendants, Bruce and Colin Whittle and Bob and Gretchen Helvey, operate the foundry. California Electric Steel takes pride in working with various types of steel and producing castings of consistent quality. California Electric Steel can provide almost any ferrous-based alloy, including carbon steel, stainless steel, and Ni resist. California Electric Steel has set goals to provide its customers with the absolute best service possible, top-of-the-notch industry casting quality, and very competitive pricing. California Electric Steel takes pride in its modern, state-of-the-art facility, but they have never forgotten that old-time personal service has kept the doors open for 170 years. By providing quality products and service, CES continues to evolve and invest continuously over the years to help meet the changing times and needs nationally and locally. In 1985, the foundry was relocated to a new and complete updated facility in the Mother Lode and Angels Camp community and continues to serve as one of the largest employers in Angels Camp. And with that, I will bring it back. Sandy Hagel is here on behalf of the family, unless anyone else has showed up. Kelly, I know, I see Kelly in the back. Like, hi, Sandy.
She is Bruce and Karen's daughter-in-law. And I just want to say thank you to everyone, the board, for the acknowledgement. It's an honor. I worked for California Electric Steel for about 5 years. I've been retired for about 3 years. So it was a great place to work. It's like taking a step right back in time. If you have not been to the foundry, it is truly one of the best kept secrets in Angels Camp, besides the museum. A few weeks ago, we held a Wild West Fest honoring Bruce and Karen and the foundry for 170 years in business. The museum, they did just a beautiful display. The exhibit is just gorgeous. If you haven't had a chance to visit, please do. You're going to see a lot of our history right there in town. So thank you to the board. Thank you to Bruce and Karen. Bob and Gretchen could not be here today. I believe they're out of the country, and Bruce and Karen were not able to make it. So, and Debbie Pawnee, my sidekick's not here with me today either. So, but anyway, thank you to everyone. We appreciate it very much. 170 years in business it's almost unheard of. I think we all know that. So, thank you everyone for your proclamation and your recognition. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Martin, do you have any?
Actually,
okay.
Can they add something? I just wanted to say thank you, Sandy. And when Bruce made his speech at the opening of the exhibit, he brought this. And what I found so fascinating about it, it's actually quite heavy. is that this is a precision piece of metal that's made here
It's a
in Angels Camp.
It's a robotic jaw.
A robotic arm that works underground at like oil rigs and what have you.
Yes.
So you've gone in 170 years from making things for the gold mines to unbelievably, robotic arms. And I just feel that. It's pretty amazing. And also I wanted to say the one thing that he told me, which I thought was incredible, was when the Golden Gate Bridge was constructed, the last bolt that went into the Golden Gate Bridge was made out of gold, and that was made at the
It was made at the foundry.
So
Yes.
awesome.
It is.
Thank
We
you.
have a place in history.
And isn't the first bolt that they made still in display at the foundry too?
Could be.
I think Bruce said that at last week they have it on display as well.
And another thing too, I'm glad that you brought that up, Martin. There's a lot of parts that are made for anything that you see going down the road. I'm sure you've all, you see the big semis going down the road. We make so many parts for all those trucks just to go down the roads to keep, America going. The steel castings are shipped all over the world, not just in the United States, but they're shipped everywhere. And they're made in large quantities. We also, here I'm saying we, and I've been retired, but I just love the foundry, what they've done. We've made parts for the military when the drones were going in and they're doing whatever, to go in and bomb places. We have a part in those too. So we're taking care of America. And Bruce, the mastermind basically behind the foundry, he's just amazing at what he does. And it's an art. It truly is an art to pour these castings and produce these castings. And a casting that Martin was holding up takes about 3 to 4 months before it leaves the doors, because there's a lot of different inspection levels that have to be put in place, a lot of certifications. Everything has to be just perfect. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I'm going to open it up to public comment. So are there any other public comments in the room?
Oh.
I think it's important that we recognize these companies. They're traditional companies that have built America. They continue to this day. I'm just always amazed. I wouldn't probably be here today without a metal company that my father owned. And Gary Govanelli wouldn't be here without the success of his company as well. The success of this company is just phenomenal. They're able to reach into the future, not just live in the present, and make something that helps us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment before I bring it back to the... No? Any board comment?
No,
Oh,
online.
Sorry, I looked at her and she was shaking her head. Anyways, are there any board comments, Ben?
Just, them being here that long is as solid as the steel they produce, so.
Yeah, kind of true. Hey, with that, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Martin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ben. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors hereby recognize and congratulate California Electric Steel Angels Camp Foundry on its 170th anniversary and celebrates this momentous occasion and acknowledge your commitment and support of the Motherlode community. Passed and adopted by the Board of Supervisors of Calaveras County, State of California, the 22nd day of October 2024. Thank you.
Oh, jeez.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Stacy.
Item number 6. A lot of recognitions this morning.
Item 6, proclamation, Health and Human Services Agency adopt a proclamation recognizing October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Very well, I will pass the gavel to Supervisor Stopper.
Thank you, Chair. Proclamation declaring October 2024 Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas nearly 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in our country have suffered physical violence by an intimate partner, and domestic violence impacts people of every age, ethnicity, nationality, economic status, and belief. Whereas victims of domestic violence are deprived of autonomy and security, face threats to their health and safety, and in many instances find themselves left with significant financial insecurity. And whereas crimes like domestic violence inhibit our community from reaching its fullest potential, and although significant progress in bringing awareness to and providing protections against domestic violence has been made, much work remains. And whereas local service providers such as the Resource Connection, the District Attorney's Office, and Health and Human Services Agency provide programs and services to victims of domestic violence essential to helping them heal. Whereas providing services and support to victims of domestic violence increases their ability to leave an abusive environment successfully. And whereas providing education on healthy relationships and services to perpetrators of domestic violence so that they can take accountability for their actions and break the cycle of abuse is essential in preventing further harm to individuals and families. Ladies, thank you. Sorry. I was thinking that was the now therefore be it proclaimed. I didn't want to get ahead of myself. Thank you, Mr. Toppin. I apologize. Whereas the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors reaffirms its dedication to providing a community where no one suffers the pain and hardship caused by domestic violence, and recognizes the advocates, victim service providers, and organizations who work tirelessly to prevent domestic violence and extend hope and to heal survivors to survivors and victims of domestic violence.
Thank you very much. Robin Carter with the Crisis Center. I brought an advocate with me. This is Tammy, and my administrative assistant. This is Annie. October is the time for the community to acknowledge Domestic Violence Awareness Month, to support the survivors and be a voice for the victims. In October, the Resource Connection Calaveras Crisis Center observes Domestic Violence Awareness Month by decorating the office in purple ribbons, purple lights, pinwheels, garden flags, and our domestic violence banner. We've done outreach with different organizations around the county and in the schools. We hold a weekly domestic violence group throughout the month, but in the month of October, we invite guests to come in and speak. They play an important role to talk to our victims and our survivors about the resources that they have to offer. The more outreach we do, the more the community learns what services we provide and how they can help. The Resource Connection Crisis Center offers support services for domestic violence and sexual assault victims and survivors. In the last year, the Crisis Center has provided domestic violence services to 228 women, 43 men, and 118 children, while 239 individuals received assistance with restraining orders. We have also seen a rise in elder abuse. Our number this past year has been 62. This is the ages of 60 and over. The services we offer at the Crisis Center are peer and professional counseling, support groups, temporary restraining order assistance, emergency hospital response, referrals to other services, a shelter program, a 24-hour hotline, and community outreach. We also have the Calaveras Children's Advocacy Center. This is in Valley Springs. It's a program of the Crisis Center that provides support for children that are victims of crime. As a reminder to the community, even if you're not ready to report to law enforcement, you can still call our hotline number or come into our office for support. Our hotline number is 754-4011 or 736-4011. Our main number is 754-1300. Our goal is to end domestic violence by educating the community. By doing this, it takes a village. We work closely with the District Attorney's Office, Victims Witness, Probation, Health and Human Services, and the Sheriff's Department. We want to empower the victims so they don't have to live in fear. We believe everyone has the right to live violence-free. I would like Tammy to tell a story real quickly.
Hi, I'm Tammy. I'm an advocate. We do outreach in different ways, but one thing we do is we go to Changing Echoes once a month. We work with the men and the women separately. We don't usually know if it's effective. Last month I went, and then this month my coworker went, and when she came back, she said that one of the people that I had talked to was finishing up and had been going home and wanted me to know that she was working on not feeling guilty. And she had expressed concern during our talk that her daughter, who was 16, might be involved in an abusive relationship with her 17-year-old boyfriend. She took the packet home that I gave her and had them sit down and read the 25 red flags. And she said that they were more grown up, and I agree, than a lot of grown-ups, because they took the whole packet and sat on that couch and read each page to each other. So it was kind of nice to know that it does. It just knocked over a skull. You know, it was just me with a bird.
You got to pass.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm going to be done now.
Yes, you're done. The thing is what is so incredible is that Tammy went and talked to individuals, and she processed what she learned, and she took it back and she shared it with her family members that she loved very much. Now they're going to process that and learn from what they have read. I have some ratios and some statistics within the population of each district. I'm going to be honest, I get totally tongue-tied trying to speak upon this. I will give it to you all, and you could read it if that's okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm gonna give a moment for public comment here, but with your story, I want to thank you for sharing. First of all, and there's something here, that I read earlier that's breaking the cycle, and growing up, most things that were told to me by adults, I had to learn the hard way anyway. But one thing that my uncle brought up in a situation when I was younger was breaking the cycle. And as you brought up, the mom was concerned about the daughter being in a relationship, and a lot of this is generational. So, advocating to the further generations down and letting people know that the ability to break the cycle can fall within their choice into the future, which, is important to as we move forward. Any public comment?
To see you folks again. Many years ago, I was in Madrid, and I witnessed on the street a man beating a woman. And my friend, I was going to go over to help, and my friend grabbed me and said, "That's the way it is here." And it affected me for my whole life. And in Calaveras County, I've seen some horrible things as well. But so we're talking with Josh Crabtree. I was talking with the sheriff this morning, and the folks back there about Josh Crabtree. And Josh Crabtree one day said, "I have to go out on this domestic violence call." I said, "Okay." And I pulled out my wallet, pulled out a $100 bill, and I gave it to him. And so it became kind of a regular occurrence that when I heard of a situation, I would pull out a $100 bill and make sure that the deputy would give it to the victim. Just a little bit of cash might help them. Buy a hamburger for their kids, or whatever, because most of these things happen in low-income environments. So that's all I have to say. I thank you. I wish you weren't there, but you're
Ms. Yook, we do appreciate the work the DA's office does, working with children and everything else. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. Barbara Uke, District Attorney. Thank you for recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I just want to share with you that part of our operations now with the Sheriff's Office is I review every single fresh arrest report when someone's sitting in custody on Mondays and Fridays. I personally review them. On Wednesdays, my assistant, Brad Jones, does. And so we have about 2 to 3 hours to review everything and all the reports and 911 calls and possibly body-worn cameras for everything that the Sheriff's Office is doing that brought someone in custody. And, I think we need to recognize, obviously the family tragedy that happens when we have these domestic violence incidents, but also all the good work that's being done. The Sheriff's Office, when they get these calls, they're very dangerous calls to everybody involved. And, it's hard work. They've got to be counselor, therapist. They're watching out for if there's kids involved, especially. And they're trying to figure out what's going on with this, terrible, awful family dynamic. And what I've seen, and this is obviously anecdotal, but for the last couple of years, I think it's been, for me personally, being up at the Sheriff's Office and reviewing all these reports, is I've seen an uptick in mutual in one person's word against another, right? And so the cops are on the scene trying to figure it out in the heat of the moment. Well, he said, she said, right? And then we're trying to figure it out on the back end, trying to unwind this whole situation. So I just wanted to point that out. We've also seen kind of an uptick in older victims and suspects, which it's very strange. It's not how it used to be. We see it every once in a while. And I don't know if it's because more people are reporting, which is a good thing, or if there's some kind of change going on. We're also seeing a lot of what I would say is an uptick in situations where one of the parties has dementia of some sort. And so then we're all struggling because what do we do, right? Because it's not that the person necessarily knows what they're doing, right? It's not necessarily fitting, the same dynamic that we've been used to for the last 40 years with the cycle of violence. And it's, very tragic situation and trying to figure out how to help these people, how to keep the victim safe, but also how to support the person, suffering with this condition. So I just want to recognize the other agencies that work very closely with us, all the different agencies under HHSA, with Adult Protective Services, mental health, behavioral health. When we have these situations, we call them all in and say, hey, what can we do for this family? We have our victim services, we have the crisis center, and all the resources at the jail, really trying very hard to figure out how we're going to manage this. Sometimes we have to research and try to find other family members. Is there another family member that can help out? Are they a veteran? Can we pull in the veteran services? We spend a lot of time in that 2 to 3 hours scrambling to figure out what other resources are there in the community. Everybody is very compassionate, and that's from the patrol deputies who are dealing with it to the jail staff, to obviously the crisis center and mental health and behavioral health and veteran services, trying to figure out what to do in those particular situations. Digressing with kind of what we know to be the dynamic of domestic violence, victims frequently change their minds. When they're in crisis, they're feeling one way. When the dust settles, they might be feeling another way. And I just want to encourage any victims, when they are on scene with the Sheriff's Office, that when the Sheriff's Office is offering to get them an emergency protective order, maybe at the time the victim might be feeling in denial, oh, I just want this to stop, right? Of course, everyone wants it to stop. It's not going to stop unless you do something about it, right? And it might stop in the moment when the perpetrator is taken away to the jail. However, if you do not take that offer of requesting the emergency protective order, the way things are right now, it's very difficult for us to get a criminal protective order if you do not accept the emergency protective order. So I would just encourage any victims out there who, if you find yourself in this situation and the law enforcement is offering to get you an emergency protective order, take them up on it. You can always change your mind later and try to get it lifted. But if you don't take the emergency protective order, it's going to be very difficult for my office to get a criminal protective order. And I don't want to speak for the Crisis Center. They help people get the restraining orders. Maybe I can put them on the spot. How are you guys able to get restraining orders? If there's no emergency protective order, are you having good luck with that? Or you haven't analyzed it that way?
Mostly.
Can you talk into the mic? I apologize.
You guys are killing.
I know. That's my job.
Mostly, it does help if there's an emergency protective order. It's kind of individual, depends on the details. It's hard sometimes because you need them to be extremely graphic. Because obviously, when we turn it in, we're sending it to the judge, and he doesn't know their story. He needs to understand by reading something why it's so important. So you can't be using generalities, and a lot of times they have a hard time recounting it, or they feel uncomfortable saying that stuff and then giving it to somebody to read. But mostly it depends on the individual details. I didn't knock anything over.
Success. And my final comment would be another, thank you to probation, the Crisis Center, and the Sheriff's Office. We had a recent trial that went on for a couple of weeks, and our victim, who was very brave, she was homeless by the time the case came around. And through the support of our partner agencies, we were able to support her and get her through the trial. And we were very fortunate to get a guilty verdict. Sentencing's set out still, so I can't really talk about the facts of the case. However, this required a lot of assistance, a lot of cooperation, and I wanted to publicly acknowledge all of our partners in that and helping get our victim through the jury trial.
Go ahead. I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Fullendorf moved. Mr. Toffanelli moved. We have a second by Ms. Fullendorf. All those in favor? Aye. So there's no nays. That 5-0 vote of the board. Thank you very much. And I will read the last one, Mr. Toffanelli. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors that the month of October 2024 is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Thank you for all the work you ladies do. And all the men. Tell you, you picked a hard friend there that's going to bury us and stuff.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to general public comment. Thank you. We'll move on to general public comment.
Any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30 minutes allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the next order of business. If public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued as the last item of business in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of comments to be heard.
Thank you. I think everybody here knows the drill. You have 3 minutes. If you're addressing something that comes on later on the agenda, I will stop you and ask you to continue your comments when we get to the agenda item. Without further ado, Terry, kick us off. Or
Good morning. My name is Debbie Rojas. I'm from New California State. On October 16th, 2024, Supervisor Gary Tofanelli, District 1, Jack Garamendi, District 2, Martin Huberty, District 3, Amanda Ollendorf, District 4, Benjamin Stopper, District 5, Sarah M. Edwards, Counsel for Calaveras County, and Rebecca Turner, Clerk Recorder, were served a cease and desist letter. Dear Sir, Madam, State of California has passed AB 969, enacted in October of 2023 using the urgency clause the bill states. This bill would declare that it is to take effect immediately as an urgency statute. Section 2 of the bill states, this act is an urgency statute necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety within the meaning of Article 4 of the California Constitution and shall go into immediate effect. The facts constituting the necessity are, in order to ensure that the county elections officials know what voting system they will be using, particularly with the upcoming 2024 March presidential primary, it is necessary for this act to take effect immediately. The California Constitution, Article 4, Section 8D states, in pertinent part, urgency states are those necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety. A statement of facts constituting the necessity shall be set forth in one section of the bill emphasized add Section 2 fails to state any facts supporting the assertion of a threat to public peace, health, and safety. In this Assembly bill, there are no facts stating either that any election official was unaware of what voting systems they would be using, or any facts amounting to an urgency within the meaning of California Constitution, Article 4. Additionally, voting by citizens that is accurately counted does not impact public peace, health, or safety. Thus, there is absolutely no logical, legal, or constitutional basis for the alleged urgency. Therefore, the use of the urgency clause to pass normal legislative process was and is unlawful and deprived the citizens of California the opportunity for public referendum. Missing this urgency clause to avoid checks on legislation and prevent public input is an abuse of legislative authority. It prevents the citizens from having a voice in the legislative process as required by the California State Constitution. Article 2, Section 9 of the California Constitution provides...
Debbie?
Thank you.
Time. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Terry McBride, Calaveras County Committee Chair, Senator for New California State. I'm going to continue with this reading because people need to be aware of it. I know you folks are. We sent it to you or brought it in last week. I will say every one of them was received respectfully, and I really appreciate that. Article 2, Section 9 of the California Constitution provides for the referendum process in California. Citizens have the power to approve or reject statutes, or parts of statutes, except for urgency statutes and some other fiscal exceptions. If the legislature had not improperly used the process reserved for public health and safety emergencies, the citizens of California could have reviewed, challenged the law by referendum pursuant to Article 2, Section 9 of the California Constitution. You have been placed in an unfortunate position that you are unable to conduct the 2024 general election without breaking either the state or federal laws. You cannot comply with newly enacted state laws without breaking federal laws. You cannot comply with federal laws without breaking this newly enacted state law. Additional reasons to cease and desist. Applications of the Help America Vote Act. The Help America Vote Act of 2002, hereinafter HAVA, requires accurate voter rolls to be maintained by the local jurisdiction. California counties have hundreds and even thousands of ineligible voters on their rolls. This violates HAVA requirement for accuracy and compliance in elections, including voter rolls. You know this because many citizens have taken it upon themselves to audit the voter rolls because our government does not, and they have found hundreds and thousands of ineligible voters. Some of these citizens have come before officials only to be disparaged and ignored. Many of our elections are decided by less than 100 votes and some by less than 10 votes. Inaccurate voter rolls are an incontestable fact. The Election Integrity Project California reported that they found 1,834,789 more registered voters than eligible citizens in the state voter rolls, including active and inactive voters. HABA was enacted due to the 2000 Bush-Gore election debacle, which greatly divided voters and destroyed voter trust. Simply articulated, if vote rolls are not accurate and compliant, elections cannot be certified as compliant or accurate, meeting the standards set with HABA. HABA was designed to provide a zero-trust model for voting systems, which includes transparency to address trust issues when using electronic voting machines. Although election fraud existed in individual local races, those widespread trust issues did not exist before electronic mechanical machines. In addition, HABA falls under Civil Rights Acts. Therefore, certifying inaccurate or non-compliant elections violates every citizen's rights when elections are not accurate, not to mention the financial issues involved in taking the HABA money and not being able to follow the HABA rules. There's more. You have these. I hope that you will take them to heart, look at them, and let's save our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Chris?
My name is Christopher Budner. This is my 34th statement to the Board of Supervisors since February 14, 2023. The failure of this government to enforce and abide by the ethical standards set forth in the codified general ordinances of the County of Calaveras in part has led to the creation of Calaveras2024election.com, launched in May 2023. Thus far, I've published 121 reports and hundreds of social media posts detailing repeated breaches of ethical protocols, an oath of office, dereliction of duty, and the abdication of fiduciary responsibilities by a concerning number of elected and appointed Calaveras government officials, revealing a compelling argument this government's modus operandi is based on systemic and endemic government corruption. My interactions with county, state, and federal law enforcement agencies include 7 Fair Political Practices Commission complaints resulting in 2 open and pending investigations so far, 4 grand jury complaints and 5 Calaveras District Attorney complaints, all non-responsive, 3 California Department of Justice complaints, 4 California State Bar complaints, 1 California Commission on Judicial Performance complaint, 1 California Civil Rights Department complaint, 1 Federal Trade Commission complaint, 6 cease and desist demand letters addressed to conflicted elected officials and colluded Business Bureau directors for defamation of character, tortious interference, restraint of trade, trade libel, false light, and trademark infringement, constituting numerous civil and constitutional rights violations. Multiple Calaveras sheriff harassment reports submitted against the District 3 supervisor and Business Bureau directors. 1 FBI complaint. I am contributing my reporting to the strengthening of an existing Senate bill that intends to further reduce pay-to-play and conflicts of interest corruption in local government, citing the actions of Calaveras County's elected and appointed officials as the real-world worst-case examples of alleged endemic and institutionalized California county government corruption. You've motivated me to write and seek sponsorship for my No Safe Harbor for Child Predators Senate bill, which includes stiff penalties for public officials and employers prosecuted and convicted for using their respective positions of power, of office, or employment to provide protective cover for adjudicated pedophiles. On Election Day, November 5th, Calaveras citizens should consider voting for alternative outsider supervisor candidates instead of colluded cronies and incumbents in order to recalibrate Calaveras government onto a course of integrity, functionality, and fiscal responsibility. My name is Christopher Budner, publisher of Calaveras2024election.com. Thank you.
Is there other public comment in the room?
It's me again. 3 minutes. He said pay to play, and I have a friend that's resigned from the priesthood. pay to pray, priest for the wealthy now. Just was thinking about that. In light of what Craig Pedro has brought forward, he says there's regarding the wagon trail.
Mr. Chairman, it's going to be an item later on in the agenda.
No, it's not the item that you have. You have to learn this. I mean, you're going out, but you have to learn this. The wagon trail, you're using my time, but the wagon trail in general is not an agenda item.
The wagon trail has 2 items later
And
on.
neither of them I'm talking about. Okay?
You can tell us what you're talking about.
Okay. You're a good man. But, okay, in light of what Mr. Pedro has divulged regarding the Native American artifacts, I think it's important that we acknowledge that by perhaps looking at changing the name of the wagon trail to reflect the Native American contribution to our county, to the state, and perhaps help them in building a visitors center, similar that you'd find on the 17-mile drive down in Monterey County, to help them make people aware of what they are about. I hope you see favorably on this idea, and I hope that you can do something soon. With that said, thank you very much for your time. We have a little extra time. Is there anything you want me to talk about? Yeah, I don't like giving up time. I consider it my taxes. And it's wonderful to see that. It's wonderful to see you folks. And I'll talk to you about consent agenda in a moment.
Is there other public comment in the room? Is there any? No? Very well. We will move on to the consent agenda.
Chair, would it be okay if I
I'm
report
sorry.
out?
Would you please report out on closed session?
Yes, thank you. Report out for closed session today, October 22nd. Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54957B1, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, Title, County Executive Officer, Board Action, no reportable action taken. Item 2, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2, Conference with Legal Counsel, re-anticipated litigation, 1 case, significant exposure to litigation, Board Action, no reportable action taken.
Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any board members who'd like to pull an item? I'd like to pull item number 9. Are there any members of the public that would like to pull an item from consent agenda? Any online?
We have no online requests.
Okay, very well. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda with the exception of item number 9?
I'll move.
And 21.
And 21?
Yeah.
Moved by Supervisor Toffenali, second by Supervisor Stopper. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break and come back here at, actually, we're going to come back at 10:30.
At Fox Security, we keep your family and your business safe. Family-owned and operated, our highly trained staff provides quality installations, service, and support to our customers. With 2 locations to serve you, San Carlos and Arnold, we install low-voltage system security and fire alarm systems with 24-hour monitoring, as well as camera surveillance systems. We install the latest technology in home and business security systems from companies such as Bosch Security and GE Systems. We'll customize a system to fit your needs. And in addition to keeping your home safe, we also offer telephone, intercom, and whole house audio and theater systems as well. One call to Fox Security and Communications and you'll have peace of mind for life. Call us today for a free estimate at 650-631-7297 or toll free at 393-2629. You can also visit us online at foxsecurityinc.com.
At Coyote, we're going to treat you like dirt. Because we hold dirt in the highest regard. We respect it in all its forms. We're honored to find it under our fingernails. Lucky to be caked in it days in. And we count our blessings every time we're able to return to it. We come from dirt. It is the great equalizer. It keeps us humble, honest. Dirt gets taken for granted by most. But if you know us, you know getting treated like dirt means getting treated with respect. Coyote, we dig dirt.
Hi, I'm here with Bob Middleton at Middleton's Furniture, Appliances, and Electronics. Bob, please tell us about your store.
Thanks, Abby. Middleton's Furniture and Appliance and Electronics is proud to serve the entire Calaveras, Tuolumne counties for over 61 years. We offer a large selection of brand name furniture, appliances, mattresses, and personalized customer service to assist you in making the very best choices, all at the guaranteed lowest prices. Thank you for stopping by.
Eastbound and down, loaded up and trucking. Are we gonna do what they say can't be done? We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. I'm eastbound, just watch no bandit run. Keep your foot hard on the pedal, son, never mind them brakes. Let it all hang out, cause we got a run to make. The boys are thirsty in Atlanta, and there's beer in Texarkana, and we'll bring it back no matter what it takes. Eastbound and down, loaded up and trucking. Are we gonna do what they say can't be done?
Whatever party you got going in the back, we got the business up front.
Ready, sir.
All right. Thank you. We'll move back on to item number 9.
Item 9, action item, administrative office. 1, make public benefit finding, and 2, approve community organization district allocations in the total amount of $2,500 for the resource connection.
And looking at the holiday season to make sure that all of our citizens can have a great holiday season. In addition to the $2,500 check that they're awarding to the Resource Connection, each of the board members have made a personal donation as well, and we'll be providing that in the form of cash, since we know that cash donations go so much further for you guys than the food donations, because you have an opportunity to really maximize those resources. So thank you all, and I will turn this over to Chair Garamendi.
Holidays and everything when, ends for needy families are stretched and everything, it really helps bring some people up to the festive level that they need to be in. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well. Is there any public comment on this item?
I wasn't prepared to say any public comment on this item, but the Resource Connection has done a fine job in Calaveras County. They continue to do a great job. Mr. Tofinelli, I'm sorry we don't have the food display this year, but I guess things change. With that said, thank you, Resource Connection. Thank you for the board to recognize them every year. You guys do a fine job.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no further any public comment online?
We have no online public comment.
All right. Then I will seek a motion from the board.
I will move this item, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Supervisor Tofinelli makes motion. Supervisor Hubbard second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Last time, come on down and have a check. Thank you.
Not the last time.
Not the last time.
Maybe.
The last one of the day.
Stacy, going to take a picture?
Yes, I am.
What do you do with all these
Reeling them in for the canned food drive.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. So I'm actually going to have you guys shift over just a little bit because we have a skeleton that
Oh, yeah. Skeleton.
Yes, move, but you can't hold us. Okay. There we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to have to shift down just right here again because it was in Noah's face. Sorry. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
I'm not so sure it's even going to fit in my little car.
Tina, I apologize. I didn't give you a chance to make a comment when I did public comments.
So I want to say that I'm humbled to be here today. I'm humbled that you've chosen the food bank for a second year in a row to receive this. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your kind words. I want to say it is my pleasure to serve your constituents. I only wish that I didn't have to be here by myself. I would love for you to meet my staff. They're wonderful people. They're dedicated. It's not just me doing this. I get to be the face. Again, my appreciation. I invite all of you to just drop by the food bank. I'd love for you to see in person what we do. Thank you again so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody who works to keep our community fed. Thank you.
Chair, can I just add one quick thing?
Supervisor
I just wanted to mention that the food bank benefit that you're doing on November 1st at the Native Sons Hall at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
And that'll be an amazing event.
Yes, it will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we'll move on to item 21. Stacy, would you please read that?
Yes.
Item 21, action item, District Attorney. 1, approve the DA's annual certification report for the U.S. Department of Justice Annual Equitable Sharing Program for county fiscal year 2023 through 24. And 2, authorize the District Attorney's Office to electronically submit the report on behalf of the District Attorney and the Chair of the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you. Mr. Dowden, you pulled this item?
Yes, I did.
Question?
Originally, I had a little joke to go with it, but I'm not going to tell it. I go over all your agendas, and the reason is to protect myself. You never know what you guys are up to. But when this came across, I came across this, looked a little bit further into it, and I just wanted to say that I support this item, but not only that, I support the DA's office. It works so hard. You just have to go back to her office. She had a meeting, so she sent a representative. There's nothing here controversial, no questions I want to ask, just to say thank you.
Thank you. Are there public comments on this item? Are there any public comments online?
We have no online public comment.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Supervisor Stopper. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Follendorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to the regular agenda.
Item 26, Agreement Public Works, authorize the Board Chair to execute Amendment 3 to the Agreement 12002101 with Unico Engineering, Inc., increasing the amount by $997,629 for a maximum amount not to exceed $4,130,447 and extending the term of the agreement to expire December 31st, 2025.
Thank you. Mr. Pedro, you have the ball.
Good. Earlier today, but I pulled the short straw, and I'm talking about Wagon Trail today. But this item and the next one is about securing our construction team through the duration of the project. And first up is with Unico, our construction management firm. They were first hired on back in 21. They had a 2-year budget that they had approved as part of their contract, and due to some good work on their part, they've been able to stretch that to almost 2 years and 9 months, which is laudable. That's the good news. The bad news is that we still need to get them on board. They've requested an increase of $997,000 to take us through the end of the project. In the contract, it has it down as the end of December of 25. I would just note that they've only had 2 amendments up to this one. The first one was to get additional help with geotechnical engineering. That was $263,000, back in October of 23, and that was in response to all of the environmental sensitive areas that have been found and some additional help there. The second one was a no-cost, just reallocation of budget, so we can keep them working and paid. So the request today is to approve this amendment number 3. I've already mentioned. I think they've done a good job to extend the budget that they have as far as they can. And I see that Howard Zabel, our project manager, is here. He and I both went through this amendment, and there were adjustments that were made downward with Howard's help.
No, it says through December 2025. So this will be re-encumbered with the next budget, right? So because we just did the 2024-2025, which goes to
right.
July 1st, or until July 1st.
Correct.
So then it will be re-encumbered in the next budget.
The balance, right?
This balance.
Supervisor Huffno?
It says Unico is essentially out of budget to continue that. So they're working past the end of their budget.
They're at the end of the budget right now, so they need this injection to move forward.
So how much of this $997,000 is going to be immediately used to pay for what they haven't been able to invoice for?
Not very, very much. They've had budget to get to this point. That was the point of the last reallocation amendment that we did. That just moved line items so we could make payments so that they could continue working so this amendment could be approved.
And it says to the end of construction and project closeout. Is that something we can rely on? Is that something that you don't expect coming back?
I feel confident. I feel confident that we're going to get this project finished, by early summer, especially with the progress that's being made out there right now. That's actually a good opportunity just to share with folks. Hunt Road has been rocked and is ready to be paved. It could happen tomorrow or Thursday. That will essentially bring to conclusion the major work on the western end of the project. And again, I was just out there looking at the embassy wall area and the drainage. All the concrete work has been completed there. They're in process of rocking the creek channels and getting ready to do hydroseed and all those kinds of things. And the wall is starting to go up. And if they are able to complete what they've said that their intention, Suket's intention is to finish that before winter ends, that should leave us with a fairly straightforward project as we start up again in spring. So that gives me confidence that we're going to be able to get through this in relatively short order next year.
Part of their contract is to work with property owners. And we've had some issues that they need to address. And it could be coming back to us if something happens, and it has to do with putting the gates up where the gates are supposed to be, where the property owners wanted it for their cattle situation. If we end up with a cow on the road and somebody plows into it, it could be our liability because we didn't place the gates where they're supposed to be, and some other issues are going on. So if we're going to give this amendment to them, Amendment 3 for this amount, we need to make sure that they understand that part of their job is to communicate continuously with the owners to make sure that we're all safe, their cattle are safe, everything is good. And make sure that they follow what at least is reasonable by the property owners for that protection.
Totally agree. And we have, as I think the board knows, one of the prime property owners just recently put in some concerns. Unico's been responding to it. Robert and I both went out to get our eyes on it so we can be better informed, make sure that they're getting those things addressed. But agree with what you're saying. It sounds like a good time to make sure that Unico is reaching out to all the property owners, not just that one.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, Gary covered what I was going to bring up, and Craig just answered about the other property owners, so thank you.
All right. Any public comment on this item?
Mr. Tofinelli, the wagon trailer is the cow on the road. We have to stop for it. I'm very supportive of this item, very supportive of the work Mr. Pedro has done and Mr. Pottinger and Mr. Howard. I think that we're moving forward faster than we ever have. And to get this project over with, it's important that we allot as much money as they need. So with that, let's go forward.
Is there other public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online?
We have no online public comment.
Very well. I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll move.
Moved by Supervisor Huberty. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Follendorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Nay. So Stopper and Garamini, no. Huberty, Follendorf, Toffenelli, yes. All right. Move on to item 27.
Item 27, Agreement Public Works, authorize the Board Chair to execute Amendment 11 to Agreement 12001805 with Dogan Engineering, Inc., increasing the amounts by $364,005 for a maximum amount not to exceed $7,606,311.
Greg?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this is our second team member we're addressing today, and the last one that needs an extension on their contract. So this is Dokken. They're our design engineers. That's their primary responsibility, but also as part of their contract, they also have a subcontract that used to be with ESA, now with Alta, and their responsibility is to have archaeologists on site as construction is ongoing on the project. You'll note this is Amendment 11 that we're considering here. The total is just over $364,000. I just wanted to make sure the public understood that about half of those amendments, those prior amendments, were no-cost amendments, just moving budgets around, trying to be efficient with the money they had or to extend the time on their contract. The other contract amendments have all been focused on additional monitoring, the archaeological related work, and that has totaled over $3.9 million. So you can see where the money's really been going since this project got going and the amendments that have been necessary. So we do support proceeding with Amendment 11. Again, it's $364,005. And it is specifically to cover construction monitoring and reporting through Dokken subcontractor Alta. Dokken does not have any more capacity to move money within their engineering budget to try to cover this cost. So this injection is needed in order to cover Alta's cost and keep the archaeologists moving. If they're not moving, then the project comes to a halt. Because we have to keep the monitoring services going on until we're done moving any dirt. So that's the essence of this request. Are there any questions?
Questions from the board? Martin?
No.
Very well. Public comment on this item.
Once again, Mr. Tofinelli, this is the county road. I'm very conservative. I'm very tight with my money. The clothes I'm wearing today are 30-some-odd years old, most likely. Thank you to Martha Stewart and her advice to use wooden hangers. With that said, with the public money, I'm even more conservative. But this project has to move forward. It has to move forward as quickly as possible. And we have to get on to the next fiasco, basically. So I support this item. Thank you for the final.
Other public comment on this item? Is there any public comment online?
We have no online public comment.
Further discussion from the board or a motion?
Move.
I'll second.
Moved by Supervisor Follendorf, second by Supervisor Huberty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Garamy, Stopper, no. Huberty, Toffenelli, Follendorf, yes. Carries 3-2. All right. We'll move on to item 28. Melissa, come on down.
Item 28, action item, receive a presentation and approve the Calaveras County Council of Governments 2023 Evacuation and Access Needs Assessment and Preparedness Plan.
Okay. We'll give you a second. We'll give you a second to set up there, Ms. Raja.
And actually, she's online and she's ready.
You don't need to have them all day. You're always peanut butter before talking.
No throwing food in the chambers.
Is my microphone on?
All right.
Are we ready?
Melissa, you ready?
Yes.
All right, you got the ball.
Oh,
Thank you, Chair Garamendi, Supervisors, Melissa Raggio, Calaveras Council of Governments, County and COG staff are here to present the Calaveras County Evacuation and Access Needs Assessment and Preparedness Plan. This plan was funded through a Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Grant. The grant totaled $195,000, and with COG's match contribution, the total project was $220,000. There was a selection committee that was comprised of city, county, COG, and Caltrans District 10 staff, and that committee selected Dewberry Engineering as the consultant on this project. The draft was completed in August of 2023. That plan was submitted to the county and the city for review, and at this time, I will hand it over to Rebecca Nealon with Dewberry Engineering for the presentation, and then we'll answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Melissa. So as Melissa said, I'm Rebecca Nealon from Dewberry Engineering, and I'm here today to tell you about what the plan is and why the plan was created. So first, let me cover the Project Advisory Committee. We had a number of county representatives. We had all of the first responders we could get interested in the plan to participate. Caltrans, most of the roads are the kind of primary evacuation roads through the county, so Caltrans was a key team member. And not listed here, not part of the Project Advisory Committee, but the community. The community was very important in developing this plan. So the elements of plan, the what that the plan is, we needed to understand how do residents in Calaveras County move around when they need to evacuate. And then what facilities do they drive on or through or past that could present hazards during evacuation events. So the findings of the plan, where there's limited documented evacuation planning. There's quite a lot of evacuation planning that's occurred, but the documentation of it is limited. Residents are using multiple sources for information when they need to evacuate. It's really surprising that a lot of residents are using social media platforms, which is not the way to get the firsthand information. And really, residents aren't very familiar with what to do when they need to evacuate. I do it myself. You kind of put it off, and someday I'll need to figure it out, but a lot of people don't have plans in place themselves. All right, so a couple of things that we accomplished with the plan. Calaveras County covers a large area, and not every area has the same needs during an evacuation event. So we created hazard planning zones to understand better how to communicate with certain areas, the things that they need to know during an evacuation event. We initiated a lot of community conversations about evacuation needs and planning for that. We quantified the risk levels of the different infrastructure and the different communities, and you'll see that here in a minute. We identified the priority roadways that people use to leave the county. When we started this, I knew the Caltrans facilities were going to be pretty much the primary roads, but I was very surprised to find a lot of kind of local roads that people know about and they use to exit the county. And then we provided recommendations for future improvements. So that was the what, and here's the why. Really, the purpose of this plan is there are a lot of programs to support evacuation improvements, infrastructure improvements, communications with community. Those programs require this very specific plan to be in place to move forward. A lot of communities throughout California have plans with this exact sort of strange wording, this evacuation needs assessment, but it is a very important plan to have in place. It definitely helped us to prioritize areas, communities that can need additional help and infrastructure that needs to be improved. And this plan will also serve as a foundational element for different funding programs. There's funding programs that are specifically related to evacuation supports. And then any funding program that is out there will have a category where they want this item discussed. They want to know, have you done this? Do you know what your evacuation needs are? So the fact that this plan is in place, you can pull it off the shelf and answer those questions pretty easily. So it's really a funding support mechanism as well as an infrastructure prioritization mechanism. All right, so here's just a map of the county with a lot of the roads that were studied. There was more little roads that were found that people use, but these are the primary ones. You can see the Caltrans facilities are clearly, a lot of people use those to evacuate, but there are a lot of little roads, little local roads that, kind of the locals know about, and they use them to get out of the county. So here's that risk calculation that I had mentioned earlier. And risk is it's a function of vulnerability and criticality, where vulnerability is how exposed is a certain community and what's the sensitivity of the community. And you can grab the report and see what are the different factors that play into that. But all of this is used to assess the risk of infrastructure, risk of population groups. And that is sort of a desk exercise. And this piece is very important to feed into that. This is the community involvement component of that. So we went out to the community. We had a couple of in-person meetings that were loosely attended, but the online surveys were very well received. I believe it was about 350 residents and first responders taking that survey, providing comments. Lots of pins were dropped all over the map saying, this is a flooding issue, or this vegetation prevents us, large vehicles from, looking down the road. So great comments that we received. We also had a website that we created during the development of this. So residents could get online whenever they wanted and access the materials and take a deeper dive. And then we had a pop-up event at the farmers market. So really did our best to get out to as many members of the community as we could. Oops, there we go. Okay, so taking that community input and that risk and vulnerability assessment, we were able to figure out what are the highest risk roads and bridges and communities, and all of that together created these maps. And so you can see where are the high risk communities. You can see Mountain Ranch, primarily because it doesn't have access to a Caltrans facility. They're a very high risk community. They also are high risk for a number of other factors. And you can see the high risk bridges and the high risk roads. So this is one panel out of the report. And as a grant writer, it's very frustrating to find a report like this, and then the project that you are trying to get support for or get funded isn't mentioned. So we made a point of trying to identify every single project we could possibly think of and get it into the report. And the purpose of that is, down the road, if you want to just pursue funding for something, you can say it's in the report. Or if there's another kind of unrelated project occurring, you could pull this report and say, oh yes, on this piece of road, we need to replace these culverts. And so that could then be incorporated into the project. This particular screen that we're looking at, this is the defensible space clearing. The green diamonds, those are diamonds along Caltrans facilities. Caltrans has been mandated with doing that defensible space clearing. They've already started quite a bit of it. The yellow is defensible space clearing that the county would be responsible for. So this is just one example. The report has these maps for, defensible space, flooding prevention projects, where are all the culverts and bridges that need to be fixed. And then if there's been a major wildfire in recent memory, those slopes are then susceptible to mudslides and landslides. So those are all identified in the report. So really did a very rigorous job of trying to get every possible project into this report. So then after that, after all these projects are identified and all this work was done, one of our tasks was to come up, what are the 6 kind of priority projects that would have the largest impact on the county? And we developed these fact sheets and then developed those projects a little bit more than the others. This first slide is an example of one of those fact sheets. You can see this is a fact sheet for a wagon trail, which you are all familiar with. But the fact sheets all have an explanation of what the scope of this project would be, what are the benefits, what's the schedule for the project, where is it at in the development, and here's a graphic. So it tells you a lot about the project and why this is such an important project. The image on the left-hand side of the screen with the volume arrows, those are, we wanted to know residents so not tourists, but residents that live in Calaveras that are leaving Calaveras going on a long trip. What are the roads that they're taking? And Highway 4 popped up as being one of the priority roads, and Highway 12 was the other priority road. So it's important to know which routes are being used dominantly. So the 6 projects are all listed here. As you know, Wagon Trail. I'll say probably the other one, these are in not necessarily in particular order. The actual evacuation planning is one of the next big priorities. Now that we've identified where the shortfalls are and where the risky areas are, now developing that evacuation plan. And that plan will be, it's got 2 major components. The first is a big running all kinds of scenarios. You know, we know how many people live up Highway 4. How long will it take them all to evacuate? And then understanding what are some of the modifications that can happen to that roadway temporarily to help those people get down the Highway 4 corridor. So next steps, now that you know what the plan is and what its purpose is we're requesting the board to approve this plan as final, so that now the Public Works, the COG can all go out and start pursuing funding for the projects that were identified in the plan. And then ultimately, and always the goal of all plans, is to implement these projects. All right, and with that, I will open up to questions.
Questions from the board? Ben, you want to start?
Yeah, just one simple one, and I may have missed it somewhere. You put Mountain Ranch as pretty much the highest risk area within the county, which I would concur with. But one of the factors you cited to was the access to Caltrans facility. It raises the risk factor. How has that raised the risk factor? My experience with let's just say a wildfire. The Caltrans facility has no bearing on the situation. It's response of first responders, OES, and everyone else. It's a Caltrans facility could be 50 miles away as long as they're doing their job on a day-to-day basis. So how does that have a factor on the risk? How does that factor into the risk?
Well, the Caltrans facilities are generally pretty well maintained. They can handle 2 lanes of traffic. Some of these other roads in the Mount Ranch area are very narrow and maybe can't handle quite the same volume of traffic. So we can get a larger volume of traffic out on these Caltrans facilities. So if a resident lived close to a Caltrans facility.
No, I understand. I apologize. I assume a facility would be a premises where like a yard. And in this scenario, you're talking about the physical road.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Correct. Very good. That's where I was lost.
Supervisor Follendorf?
I just want to say thank you for staff to finally bring this in front of the board. I think I've been asking for this for as long as I've been on the board. Gary and I have been waiting for this to get in front of us, especially with the COG matching the county's request for the funding, and it's nice to finally see this so we can check a box of actual completed projects going forward.
And thank you as the COG chair. I think this plan is a foundation for us to go after grant funding for the city and county. I think the biggest project, as you saw, is Wagon Trail, and resiliency is a #1 priority for the state of California. So they want to make sure their infrastructure is being tracked and maintained.
Sorry, man, you done?
Thank you, Chair. I don't really have a question, but I did want to raise just some concerns that we actually spoke about at our last meeting with Chair Garamendi and CEO Hitchcock. I went to a boarding school, and we were made to do practice fire alarms all the time, and we hated it. We hated it so much. And one morning at 5:30 it went off, and I was a prefect, and I had to get the students that were in my dormitory out. We were out of that building in 2.5 minutes, and there was nothing left in 5 minutes. I can't stress the importance of practice, and I understand that we can't do practice drills, but I would love to also see how we could actually talk to, I know children in schools are taken care of, but children's at home. Do parents know their favorite toys or what the child's list of what to take for an evacuation? Are there the pet carriers ready to go? I just don't think we're just about to do our 3rd town hall this weekend up in Arnold, and I just don't think people are prepared enough, and I think that that needs to be stressed. I also, there are nuances. I mean, my district, Upper Highway 4 corridor, we swell 15 to 20,000 people on a big weekend. A lot of those are second homeowners, but a lot of them are visitors, and they don't know what's going on. This is where we're talking to Peter about, making sure that emergency equipment or information is inside each one of those places. But also, I want to make sure that we evacuate our visitors on a warning, that we don't wait to get them out. And then there are other little things that I would like to talk to Eric about too. I mean, the light in Murphy's, the last time there was an evacuation, it took people 1.5 hours to 2 hours to get out. And people were stopping for the light. So the CHP is meant to be there, but if they aren't, and they've got something else that they've got to take care of, I've never been given an answer as to who's that next person. The other thing that concerns me a lot, and nobody will talk about, and nobody wants the responsibility of talking about, is what to do if it's too late. What do you do? How do you shelter in place? What are the best practices of how to shelter in place? And I don't know that we can speak to it, but I'd love to talk to Eric and see if there's anybody that we could actually say, because there are going to be people who are going to get caught. There will be obviously people who are stubborn and want to stay in their home and protect their home, granted, but also there will be people, I mean, you're going to have hikers on the trail. What do you do? So those are my concerns, and I really enjoy working with you, Eric, and Melissa, thank you.
So our next board item will go a little more into some of your concerns when we jump into that. But from my perspective, I want to thank both Melissa and Rebecca for coming in. This is a project that was kind of sitting and waiting, and I know thank you for being patient. Last board, I think on the 8th, we did finalize our EOP finally, and this is the second step of it, and we'll be coming back to you for more. But it is my honor to see this through completion, and thank you guys for coming in.
And thank you. We've already set up a follow-up meeting. I'm really excited that Director Holt is willing to collaborate, and we can go after additional funding for training scenarios. Caltrans specifically does do training, mock training. I forget what the word is, but
exercises.
Yeah.
We'll be hitting those heavy.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. And first off, I read the whole report with 107 pages, and it was very comprehensive. I think it was well done. One of the things that stands out in that report over and over again is that the most dangerous area is the Mountain Ranch area. None of the 6 priorities that were listed are part of that deep red area. And so I'd like to know, how is this list of 6 priorities made? And as follow-up, why was the most severely impacted area not included in our priorities? Like, how does that happen? Because the report was really excellent and laid it all out. Yet there's a disconnect between the 6 priorities and the needs of what I'm seeing. So please unpack that for me.
Before I ask Rebecca to answer, I just want to, identify the roles and responsibilities on doing a planning grant. So COG facilitates, we do the RFP, and then we set up the project team. So the local jurisdiction staff is the technical input for the projects. COG can make recommendations, but if the city and county don't want those recommendations in the plan, and that's why I think as going forward, some of the department heads can bring back these plans before they're completed for the jurisdiction's input. But I will let Rebecca speak to the methodology. I was not at the COG when we began, and neither was Director Holt.
Yeah, and I'd specifically like to know how he came up, because 4 of those projects are all over in the Highway 4 corridor, excluding the fact that Highway 49 goes across the county.
Yeah.
And the 2 at the end of it are sort of general, we got to clean things up. So help me understand how, Rebecca, perhaps you could tell me how these priorities were set and why we avoided the most critical zones.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the hazard planning zones that I mentioned, and they were discussed in the report, the railroad flat area was really what generated the need for that. I mean, those residents have a very specific set of needs if there's an emergency event. And so the two of the projects out of the 6, this unified notification system and an actual evacuation plan, I think are 2 very strong items that will positively benefit the residents in that very vulnerable community. The fact that there wasn't a consistent platform that folks went to, even though I know that there is one available at the county. The variety of places that people went to get information when there was an event, an impending emergency event, was all over the board. I mean, the information that they get would be wildly inconsistent. So just educating those residents to know where to go to get the best information as quickly as possible during an event is very important. Those residents, a lot of them have been out there. You don't have cell service all the time. And so what is the best way to be able to get notifications to those residents? Right now, it's kind of a door-to-door system, which can be, time consuming and potentially not as effective. Is there a way to get information to those residents quickly, consistently? I think that is a really powerful on the list of 6. Also, the countywide evacuation plan. As I said, a huge component of that evacuation plan is outreach. It's not just I'm not saying that the outreach that we did wasn't rigorous. It is a much more rigorous. You want to get you want residents to see the information in this plan, how to be prepared, what they need to do to be prepared. They need to see that multiple times over the course of a year or 2, so it really sinks in, and get those notices up in public places. So those 2 pieces, helping educate residents to the resources that are available and what they need to do to help themselves is very important, and then where to go to get information. So I think those 2 out of the 6 would definitely benefit the residents in this community.
My question was, how are the 6 put together, and who made that list of 6 priorities? And because we've learned one thing in this is that how it's listed in the priorities matters for COG as they go out and seek grants. So who came up with these 6 priorities? The 2 at the end obviously are countywide issues and will impact this severe area, but how about the other 4?
It was the Project Advisory Committee that came up with that list.
Okay. Eric? Go ahead, Supervisor.
Eric walked in on a lot of this. We've had a massive turnover in his department. Martin has been witness to my comment to staff in the past, and the frustration of the county's lack of providing the feedback that was needed over the since this project started. And since that time, Eric has tried to play catch up to get that feedback. But since this is a working plan, I think the next goal is to get this approved for him to be able to work out that. But the biggest issue is, and I think staff really needs to participate and take these things seriously. We as a board continue to ask for these projects to get done. The lack of the technical expertise from the advisory group that are appointed to do these feedbacks and these plans are not committed, and they're not bringing it back to us to get that feedback. And then so much time ends up lagging that now we're here at a moment where we need to get this done so we can move on to the next step, which is then on the next agenda item. So the current staff that we have in front of us can implement what is in here. But I think it goes back and to, maybe we need to have a discussion with our CEO what our expectations are from staff when we ask them to go, when they come in front of us and ask for these plans. If they're going to continue to ask for these plans but not do the work that is required of them, the COG board is not responsible for that. That is the jurisdictions in charge. So that is the city's responsibility. That is the county's responsibility. It is not the COG board, and I think it ends up getting a bad rap with Gay and I on the board, and we're out trying to advocate and get these on the side and have the conversation with staff, like encourage them to add more participation to get things recognized. But there is only so much we can do. So I think everyone's trying to be professional to not call it out, but I am going to call it out because I have gone face to face with past department heads who refused to do this. Yet this is what the county asked to do, and the COG board matches the fund. So I think we need to take a hard look, back up, and see what our staff really wants to do. They can't come and ask and then dismiss it. And then we put our consultants and individuals that end up giving a presentation on the
lot that city and county can use from this plan. And the COG will be taking this plan. Every grant application that you're filling out in the future will need this data of resiliency and the transportation infrastructure. I think this is an amazing plan. We are late getting to the county. The city and COG accepted this plan in October of last year. It was a competing priority at the county at the time with staff turnover, and I think we even had winter storm, events. But we want to bring this forward. I think when we are working on these plans in the future, we'll get in front of you beforehand. Like the RTP will be coming, which is the Regional Transportation Plan update, to hear your input and your concerns for your staff to then bring to the COG so that we make sure that we're implementing it in these plans.
Supervisor Stopper, you had a question.
Can I?
Caltrans planning grant, correct?
Yes.
So COG and Public Works would be the proper venue for this type of grant. So it's not just staff. So I hear what Ms. Fullendorf has to say on turnover, and I agree to the point, and getting people to move forward with going forward with these type of plans is needed. But at the same time, it's not just in our camp. This is exactly a Caltrans grant. It is COG's job because they're the ones that accepted the grant. It's part of us coordinating together.
Yep.
Staff here, staff there, staff at the city, and so on and so forth. So with that, I think the parts on the implementation of the plan are good ones. I think we have the opportunity to expand on that to address the needs of the Mountain Ranch and Railroad Flat area in the future. I don't think we've missed the ball yet.
Yeah, can I jump in?
But absolutely, the input with that. So to her point being right, the input not getting put in, staff turnover, so on and so forth. The advisory committee was put together by COG from different interests throughout the city and the county, correct?
It's a requirement of the grant.
Right.
The plan is for the jurisdictions.
Who is on the advisory committee?
Your Public Works Department, the OES Department, the City Planning Department, Caltrans participated, and then also COG staff.
That right there says it all to me.
Eric, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, if I could. So I do hear you. The buck will stop with me going forward, and I accept that. I told you that when I accepted the job, that I'll do this as if my grandma lives down the road, and she still does. So I'll continue doing it in that method. This is a very well done plan. I do want to give compliment to both the consultant and the COG. What it did is identify things. So the next board item will be the evacuation annex, which is also our notification system. Those were the 5 and 6 on that list. From here, we just met with Fire Safe Council that is ending their evacuation grant. And we learned of other grants. So the CICC grant would be what we go after next for like Mountain Ranch and the mitigation off the roadways for that clearance. So this study really gave us an opportunity to see those projects. We're going to come to completion on McKay's in the next year. We just finished tree mortality. As we look to that next phase or next generation of the grants, we're going to utilize this study, and I'll show you in the next presentation of how we utilize the study to work into our evacuation grant. So going forward, I do think there's a bright future, and again, your concerns will be addressed. The buck stops with me, and it won't go any further than professionalism, and we'll go forward in that light.
Thank you. I agree with you that this is a very good planning document. I have problems with the 6 priorities. We are literally ignoring the fire that's going on. You know, we're talking about things that are very important, like wagon trail. No doubt that needs to be on there. But we're ignoring the most vulnerable community in our county, literally leaving them off the list. They're lumped in with the other item 5 and 6. But I have no problem with the way the report was written. I have a problem with the priorities that are listed there. And I also know that it's probably not going to come back to this board anytime soon to reorganize those priorities. So I support the report, but I will not be voting for this because I do not support the 6 priorities as they're listed. I believe it's ignoring the elephant that's sitting in the middle of the room by not listing those areas. So
if I could, Chair.
I appreciate the work. I cannot support this without that written in the priorities.
So I do want to just reemphasize it is a study so that we can develop plans. So our priorities will be.
But this 6th list is what COG is going to be and the county will be writing grants to support. That's why we're coming up with a priority list. There's no other reason to do it, is there?
Well, our priorities will be different. So, theirs is a structural plan of roads and thoroughfares. Ours is fire safety, fire mitigation, public safety. And so we're going to use it as the study, and I'll show you how we use that in our evacuation plan. But going forward, it's the study we can use in our grant applications for Mountain Ranch, right? And those
but
sort of ways.
It's not listed, and it matters if it's named.
I got you. I understand that.
That's the Caltrans facility. May I back you up on this, Mr. Chairman? The Caltrans facilities and raising the danger. At this point, you labeled Highway 12 and Highway 4, Wagon Trail and those. The 2 areas, that that the representatives on COG and everything generally are in their districts and areas. That said, why wasn't Mountain Ranch Road labeled to straighten out? That would be a priority to me. If we're trapped in an area, it's a
county road.
Yeah, it's a county road. So COG is a regional transportation planning agency. So you're usually working with Caltrans on the state highways.
26 is the state highway, correct?
Yeah.
That brushes the edge of Railroad Flat.
Okay.
And then you don't label 49 because every time we've had something like the Butte fire, that's where the vortex of the fire is generally. So we wouldn't probably funnel people that way, but 49, is possible depending on where the fire started. Let's say in Mountain Ranch and work back towards McCollum Hill, might be the most prudent exit at that time.
Would it be the pleasure of the board that we bring this back with the different priorities next board meeting?
That'd be a board action.
That would be a decision by us as a total, right?
Yeah. So we could ask to have this brought back with priorities added in, or we could call the vote now. I would ask a question of Melissa before we go down that route. Last year, the city already approved it.
Yes. It's not called approved. You're just accepting it.
That said, they accepted it with these priorities. So if we changed our priorities, would that conflict with the cities?
No, you can do an addendum to the plan.
Okay.
The county can add and work through their staff.
We can make an amendment?
Yes. It's a living document. We just had to meet the compliance.
Absolutely.
And I had to turn it into Caltrans because it had a time limit. So the county can use this plan however they want. They don't need COG. Once you guys add whatever projects or priorities you want, submit them to COG, and I will submit them to Caltrans as an amendment.
I appreciate that, but look at the general plan amendments. We always say we'll go back and fix things. It doesn't always happen. please.
How soon could you bring another plan before us for approval? Next meeting?
I don't think it would be another plan.
I know, it's just a change on the priorities, such as if we
Well,
get
it'll
direction.
be an addendum, like the
Right.
county will, I can add to the plan that the county has identified these as their priority and
Also.
addendize it. Yeah.
But you're not, but that would still have the, I would like to see it listed in the 6, make it 7, make it 8.
That's
I don't
what
care.
she's saying.
Right.
That's what she's saying.
Melissa and I have a scheduled meeting next Friday. We could spend some time to get this amendment compiled with the priorities that I have from our office, and maybe even include Public Works and bring it back. And if that's what you choose, or accept it as is, and we'll show you the other plan. Whatever you guys choose to do, we'll
Let
do.
me take some public comment, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss what we want to do on the board. Yes, Gary, go ahead.
I had a couple comments on it. And Melissa brought it up. This is a living document, and it's not the size of the general plan, Jack. It's a lot smaller. So, and we can amend this, which is being talked about right now. We can add 7, 8, 9, whatever, to cover some of the areas that you're talking about. But the one thing I wanted to bring up is this item number 2, which is Highway 12 from this intersection here at 49 all the way to the intersection at Angels. You need to keep in mind, and you may need to have some conversations with Caltrans, because that's going to be a major evacuation route coming down. You're going to have construction on Highway 4, which is we have going on right now. And then there's a big shop project right here in town that they're going to take out all of the asphalt, grade it down and widen it. So that's a large project. It's supposed to go about 2 years. So you're going to have both those evacuation routes, and you're going to try and focus people into the main one here on 49 because it's wider and doesn't have the dangerous curves that are still in phase 2 on Wagon Trail. You may want to collate with them, because if we have a major catastrophe, that could be a problem with construction on both exit highways getting out of here. So you can correlate with them if something happens.
Thank you, Supervisor Tovenelli.
Keep me up.
Even though these items have been listed as priorities, at this time, none of those priorities have been initiated in a project initiation document.
Well, Wagon Trail.
Yeah, funding for the construction phase of the eastern segment.
Right, we're
Okay.
doing these things.
Supervisor
Fallendorf, you had a question?
No, I'm
have
talking
another
about the
co-
construction projects.
I'm just perplexed with the, I'm getting the nitpicks of where the focus is, and I get it. But not too long ago, we had Public Works in front of us with the CIP acting and recommending a roundabout to get traffic off right here in this area in San Andreas. We as a board said no. That could have been on here. We had another project over in, I can't, with the district change, I want to say Gary's district, but it could be now yours. The Board of Supervisors said no. So when we're doing the CIP within our own here with Public Works, if we're voting no, those recommendations are not going to go through the advisory and get on this list for some of these projects. I mean, we're trying to make a connection of transportation around here, but we don't say yes to our own staff members to then put on some of these things as well. There's connection to it as well. And so how do we, I'm just confused as how we even talk about some of these roadways when we continuously say no to our own staff to even try and get a recommendation in these projects at the advisory level. I don't know, it just...
Apples and oranges from my perspective, but I have a reason to, I have an answer to what you're saying, because I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, we've had priorities in other areas that are dangerous, and we didn't say no to the project by any means. We said we prioritize something, let's say, down off of Garner and Olive Orchard on 26. That is another issue. Let's say if there's a grass fire over there by Olive Orchard Estates and people are going out and the intersection gets piled up. But hey,
And also, another reason that roundabout was brought up is access for possible businesses up the road. It wasn't just the intersection right there, and providing access for Mountain Ranch onto Highway 49. Other people want to build buildings up the road, and they want to address that with that issue also. That was part of the reason.
So I just wondered, there's a lot of moving parts in that where we've kind of crossed over. So like evacuation of the county for disaster obviously falls within our wheelhouse, and the other things like Public Works and Caltrans, I don't have a purview over. So our office, and we'll continue to work with you, we'll set priorities for mitigation and protecting our population for sure. I can't set priorities for Public Works and Caltrans, of course, but I definitely do want to reiterate that we are moving forward based on this data with projects for that next phase of especially fuel mitigation projects.
Okay. This is going to be really important because we don't have any other money except going after these. Our RIM and
Absolutely.
SKIP are all accounted for. I'll ask public comment. Is there any public comment on the room on this item? Public comment online?
We have no online public comment.
All right, let's bring it back to the board. I would like to see this come back, but it's at the discretion of the board. Martin, where are you?
Can you start that in?
Ben?
I'd like to make a motion.
All right.
I would like to make a motion to a small addendum doing priorities. You two review it, possibly give the district 2 supervisor a call, see if he has any suggestions that could be incorporated into it, and bring it back as soon as the next meeting so we can get this done. That's my motion.
You have a motion, so the motion is to add an addendum and bring it back at the next board meeting?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Second by Supervisor Hubbard. Other comments before I call the vote? We have a motion and a second. We have to deal with this item before we do other items.
I do have a comment. Is it possible to accept what's in front of us and make the motion also to bring it back to us with the amendment? At least we're moving forward and accepting this.
Would 2 weeks delay you at all?
No. We've already submitted it. It's at the board's leisure, whatever the board would like to do.
Okay.
Other comments? Very well. I'll call the vote to move this to the next item, bring it back the next meeting with the addendums put in there. Is there a motion? Oh, you've got a motion. Is there a second? Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0.
Thank you, board.
Thank you,
And
Supervisor.
we'll see you in 2 weeks on this.
With the intention of moving forward on it next.
Yeah, we're going to move forward once you get it correct.
Absolutely. And I'll need some of your time.
All right. Next item.
Yes.
Madam Clerk.
No, you're
Item 29, OES Resolution, adopt a resolution approving the 2024 Calaveras County Emergency Operations Plan Evacuation Annex.
Mr. Holt.
Thanks for having me again. Okay, as to not kind of kill us by PowerPoint this morning, I just want to talk about our annex, what we've done, how we utilize the COGS study, and I'll do that carefully, obviously, with coming back. So I started May. We were finishing up our EOP, which was paid for through the Fire Safe Council Evacuation Program grant. We will be closing that grant out December 31st. We did just have our kind of final meeting, and 2 of you were able to attend. I think it's been hugely successful in that we got a lot accomplished. From the presentation that you were just given, I'll say what we pulled out of that is obviously the priorities 5 and 6, a county evacuation annex, and a common evacuation messaging and all that. Both were accomplished by this annex that I bring before you today, that you guys have had a chance to look over. Again, the COGS study was the structural component of doing that. How do we identify the routes? How do we stay current on projects that are going on? And most importantly on my end, what is the traffic flow that can go down those main arteries? It's all well and good to say we're going to evacuate south, or I guess it would be west on Highway 4. However, if a light stops everybody for 2 hours, we're in a paradise situation, right? If everybody's watched that documentary on Netflix, you'll see that people get trapped on these roadways, and it is a determining factor in life and death. So we have written that, and we've taken that information from them and utilized it. So our evacuation annex kind of takes in more of the resident and the systematic approach that we're going to take to get them from their homes, their businesses, their schools, wherever they're at when disaster strikes, and get them to safety, and then how do we care for that? Beyond that, we have a lot of different things that come up in. So Arrow Fire was a great sort of low-level play on shutting down a highway. It did happen. We couldn't utilize Highway 4, but luckily we got to go through that as sort of an exercise in a real scenario without the loss of life or property on the highway itself. What are those other factors that come up? Access and functional needs. People that have a hard time receiving our evacuation notices. We've had meetings for that. People that have medical disabilities that keep them from being able to self-extricate out of a dangerous situation. So we are in the process of writing our AFN annex with these same consultants in Cal OES and HHSA. So that's kind of the next phase for this. California State changed their laws regarding cohabitation of animals within our evacuation centers. So now we're going to write an annex for how we handle that. And you can see how these kind of compound, but our job is to take the worst case scenario and match that with the highest level of capabilities that we can put together and intersect those in a way that protects lives and properties. So that's the process that we're going through. Again, as for you two that were in the meeting with Fire Safe Council, you got to see that this isn't something that stops. This is an everyday approach for us in OES, myself and Baljit, and our grant writer, Jocelyn, our administrative staff that supports everything that we do. We are going to continue to hit the ground as hard to disasters. I know everybody inherently thinks that it's wildfire and that is our number one risk, but this goes into many different things. You know, we're going to go into winter mode. I say officially Saturday because we have the Arnold Winter Wise. So we're going to start talking more about the winter stuff, but let's go ahead and get through this. So we had a different consultant, TRI. Miss Andrea Davis came in and presented the EOP to you guys. She's the CEO of TRI. I think they're an amazing group, and you know, a little shout out to them for all the hard work they've done. Our Fire Safe Council ends in December 31st. We were hoping to get an extension and additional funding. That didn't come. TRI, thank you to them. I don't think they'll hear this, but they bumped up a time frame that was extended into June to get these annexes done, and they're going to complete it by December 31st to fit within the grant. So again, thank you to them. So project purpose and objectives, as you can see. I don't even know how to go back now. There we go. The whole basis here is coordinate our response capabilities by creating an evacuation plan based on the data. Not only did we compile our own data, but we had that study done by the COG, and again, thank them. But how do we put that into play, okay? Terminology, basic stuff. I'm sure you guys had a chance to look this over, but evacuation order and a warning, what's the difference? One is, as it sounds, a warning. We're advising you that there's a dangerous situation, and order is that it's a lawful order given by the sheriff's office to leave. Shelter in place, that could be for, you know, a neighborhood disturbance of a law enforcement or, you know, a threat of some sort. We just want people to be aware of the situation and stay indoors. When it's lifted, I think it's self-explanatory. Hard closure, soft closure. Hard closure is only going to be fire and law that's allowed in there or escorted in by them. Soft closure, we do allow some of our other critical infrastructure groups to come in, and resident only, as long as you live within that area, you're allowed in. So the activation, I know the top says OES directed. This is something that comes from the sheriffs. The authority for this is the sheriff's office, and most EOC activations are going to start by their call. They have deputies on the ground that are seeing firsthand. They're relaying back to their chain of command, and they're going to make that decision to call us. I don't second guess police or fire intelligence from the field, so if they say we need an EOC to stand up, that's how we go into effect. So the decision to evacuate comes under the sheriff's authority or the undersheriff in her act, and they are the lead agencies. In Angels Camp, it is different because we do have local law enforcement, so Chief Ellis would be in that, and obviously we would establish a unified command in that situation to make those decisions and assess the and evaluate the needs. Okay, we don't want to keep people in danger. We want to get them out, especially in the essence of fire or flood. So we're going to use basic protocols that are in the California Master Mutual Aid Agreement, which is I think it was written in 1958, that still stands today on how we conduct disaster response and the coordinating efforts for that. So the immediate actions gain jurisdictional situational awareness, what's going on, who's in danger, all of that, to determine the response status, whatever that may be. That's going to be on the incident command end of things. We're going to support that. When we move people out of an area, it is our job to care for them and make sure that they're safe, while the first responders can be out there and mitigate the actual problem, put it to bed. Additional protective actions, evaluate public information needs. That's something that is huge these days with social media. Everybody wants instant, accurate information. It does take time to go through the process. Little shout out to Baljit, who's now a certified PIO as of last month. So that's a huge help for us. Determine next steps to coordinate and implement protective actions, and basically a time frame on how long that'll go. Just to speed this up a little for you guys, coordination, situational awareness, what happened, where and when, what jurisdictions, and where they're going to move these people, where they're going to be sheltered and evacuated to, and what is the latest information and intelligence about threats to the jurisdiction, wherever that may be. Roles and responsibilities. When it comes to evacuation, it's going to be the Sheriff's Office authority, and we're going to operate under that to support it as OES. Everybody else does have some, HHSAs and American Red Cross are going to be responsible for evacuation sites and caring for the people that we evacuate through the entire event. And then at the end, building department and environmental are going to come in and make sure before we allow reoccupancy that it's safe. They're going to come in and do building site assessments and environmental test water and all that stuff. So like we saw in the Arrow fire, as we progressed out of the fire operations, there was a lag. And how do we get people back in their home? Well, we don't want to soft re-enter, right? We want to make sure that it's safe for everybody. And when we give that order, it's safe. It's not going to become an event again. So all of this goes into that and defines those roles and responsibilities. Response status, again, this is going to be on the incident command side, but what initial protective actions? I did want to stop here. Supervisor Hubbard did talk about, when people can't get out, we may set a temporary evacuation point, a TP, which up in your district could be like the Meadowmont Center, right? A large concrete area where there's not direct fuels. It is not the greatest option, of course. It is a last stand. If you watch the documentary again from the Paradise fire, the campfire, but in Paradise, a lot of the residents there had to take refuge in the grocery store parking lot. And sometimes it's, you're faced with these challenging situations, but we do prepare for that. Again, we take what's the worst case scenario, and then how do we, make the best option there in the best playbook, and this is our playbook. So public notifications, there was a heavy emphasis put on this through the grants. So the grant paid for Genesis Protect and Everbridge. Those are our notification systems. And then the federal government has the WIA, which also runs through Calaveras Alert, you all remember the WIA from the Maria fire when you guys were in this meeting and we were in the EOC and everybody's phones went off. Those are a great system because we can pick a spot on a map and blow that size up or shrink it down to hit a geographical area. And sometimes it goes farther than that, as we found out. So we didn't target this area for the WIA, but you guys all received it. I don't think there's any question on its effectiveness because you couldn't miss it, right? You guys had to pause it. And then what are we going to use beyond that? Well, everything that we have to. That's the real answer. Whether that's door to door, whether that's, a PA system, social media, television, radio, we will do everything that we can to get that message out. Is it possible that people miss getting notified and they don't know there's a huge fire in their backyard? Of course, but we are going to give it every opportunity to reach every resident that we have. So a lot of energy was put into these emergency notification systems, which again, referring back to the last presentation, was one of the priorities that they set. What are we working on in the future? Well, if you look at the bottom right, one of our misses, and I don't mind talking about it, in the Arrow fire was that a deaf and hard of hearing community member was not notified. That's a big gap for us to fill because what did I just say? We're not going to rest until everybody's notified. And so when that's identified, now we go back to the drawing board. And so in our AFN annex, we are working through that particular, but also many others, right? We did have some oxygen dependent or people with health conditions that they couldn't evacuate on their own. So how do we build a resilient program to put the caretakers into an evacuation zone to remove these folks and get them evacuated to safety? And then how do we care for them going forward in the evacuation sites? So some of the things we've had to do is buy the extra large cots for larger individuals that need beyond the 400-pound, I think, was the capacity of the smaller, right? We want to make sure that every resident with every possibility is taken care of if we can, right? You see the other thing, multiple languages, 508 compliance. That's how we our font and text and everything on our notifications through PIO. So a lot was put into that. Evacuation routes, again, going back to the COG. You saw that first map where it done all of our main arteries and our secondary and our third order of, you may have a dirt road going down your ranch that cuts through that we may want to use someday, right, if the highway's going down. But our main thoroughfares, what was our cars per minute we can put in either direction, whether that's east or west on Highway 4 or 12 and 26. We got to know that data. We've got to have a calculated number there that says, if I evacuate 15,000 people on a Saturday, does the road handle that? Even if we, if it's multi-direction or we can actually reverse traffic through some partners, CHP and Caltrans, and say there is no east traffic on Highway 4. It is all single direction. But we've got to have these conversations. We've got to have these plans, and that was accomplished through this. Right, as I talk about it, there it is. So these are the evacuation routes. One thing I do want to get in the habit of doing in our EOCs and our evacuations is defining in that message what route we want residents to take. And I'll show you through our Genesis Protect, which is on the next slide, I think. So this is Genesis Protect. As you can see on the right side, CCU 109 is centered right there. We can split that if we need to, but those are our evacuation zones. So when we utilize our messaging, which was one of the priorities, we're going to click that zone. Captain Ballard up in the EOC is amazing at doing it. He just talked to Forest Meadows. They came in and did an EOC tour, and he was showing them. But he's going to click that zone, put in what kind of message it is, whether it's a warning, whether it's an evacuation order, and that's going to go out to everybody that is in that zone. We also will piggyback that with social media, of course, and the WIA that you guys experienced in your meeting. Supervisor Hubbard, you talked about traffic signal coordination and timing. By any means that we need to. Our deputies have guns and can shoot out lights if we have to. But I do know that was something in the past, and I may joke about shooting the lights out, but we're going to make sure that we put somebody there with the authority to just get people out. Moving people is our biggest priority. When we talk about phased evacuations, we discussed the ordinance for STRs, right? When we put in a warning, if you live in that area and you're a full-time resident, a warning means, start to collect your stuff, get ready. And we would like to write in the ordinance that our transient occupancy folks evacuate immediately on that, because that helps us with the phased thing. It helps us with our numbers. It helps us manage the flow. If we get that group out first, then we know the residents. We know a pretty good estimate of what our full-time residence is. The fluctuation on the weekend on the transient occupancy can vary quite tremendously. And so that's why we want to have those sort of things in there. Designated markings, signage, of course, lights, flaggers, actual people with vests on that are guiding traffic, monitoring it. High-low siren, we've discussed. I don't think we're going to utilize that option because it doesn't give the information of where somebody's going to go, and that creates a dangerous situation. So we've kind of, although that was in there, it was for the discussion piece of it, and we've gone away from it. Barriers and contraflow being, again, taking Highway 4, 12, or 26 from 2 lanes in opposite directions to outflow only, get out of the area, and we can do that through coordination. I talked about the temporary evacuation points, again, that last stand, based on whoever the IC in the field is going to be, whether they, the fire chiefs are going to set a benchmark. This is, if it gets to this point at this time or before this time, then they're going to make that next decision matrix. Some of that may be we're going to evacuate as hard as we can, as fast as we can until it gets to this benchmark, and then we're going to have a last stand Alamo situation in a parking lot or something like that. And then how do we get personnel there? Emergency shelters, I think we're all very experienced in that. We've opened up quite a few of them this summer, but it's something that our ESF functions take extremely seriously. It is detrimental and not in the norm for people to evacuate into their comfortable home or from their comfortable homes to a cot in a gym. So we want to do as much as we can to take care of them. How, again, communications, Calaveras alert, social media. Let me just say anything possible to communicate, we're going to do. And we're going to do that coordinated effort. Mutual aid, this is just NIMS and SEMS. This is how we respond, and we keep that coordination. Everybody's pretty aware of that, and I know you guys are, so I'll kind of just breeze past that. Again, in closing comments, I do want to reiterate that we are taking this, we are building not only the plan, the playbook here with our other annexes that are being written, and I'll bring those back to you, but I'll probably do that in a batch so I don't take up your time with these one-offs. But the great thing about this and the collaborative work with the COG on this that I kind of picked up, I'm the second string quarterback on this, so to speak. But we want to continue that playbook. We want to find these projects that are going to make a more resilient community. And my promise to you guys is we will focus on that D2 area that is obviously identified. There's a reason it's identified. Let's get it off the list, right? So I'll come back to you with hopefully some grants in the near future that'll identify mitigation that was identified in the study. They all work together. So thank you for your time. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Supervisor Stopper.
Everything you said, excellent tools to be used. We get into another Butte fire situation. You can send all that stuff out, hit social media, hit every darn thing in your playbook that's on there. Mm-hmm. You aren't going to get a hold of people. Power loss, cell phone isolation, dead zones with everything working fully. People are going to miss it. Beyond having a plane fly around through the smoke with a banner saying, "Get the heck out." What else do we do? I mean, our former sheriff, Mr. DeBasilio, brought forward a pager idea.
The FM alert,
because of this situation, but those won't always work either.
Right.
It's a service issue, right? Although those tend to carry a signal farther, That, McColmy Hill, growing up, the old fire station had a World War II air raid siren on it.
Mm-hmm.
We all knew when they were getting called out for miles, you know. I don't know what the solve is, but we need to have something in place because these are great tools you're using. They're far ahead of what we used to be, and we will get a hold of more people, but the situation is larger than the tools we have at our disposal right now, and they always have. Like, we're farther along than we used to be. It's just, if we can be innovative, I mean, I put it, you know, it wouldn't take many of those air raid sirens. And if you trained everyone in Calaveras County, that meant there's an emergency and you need to get to a spot where you find out what's going on or get to your, you know, evacuation plan immediately. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, if you watch ants march in a line, that's what we want. We don't want to scare the nest where they scatter and attack, and that's kind of our thing there. Since this evacuation, or since I got here, our whole methodology is education. We've started the Genesis Protect Know Your Zone. We've done the Calaveras Alert Everbridge stuff. We're going to continue to hit that as hard as we can. Saturday, we're going up to Winterwise. We're going to every town hall that we can. It does take an active participation by the community as well, of course, right? We can be 100% successful in reaching everybody, and 20% will evacuate. People will die. That's just the nature of the game. We know where we live, and we know the community. And so we are going to educate, but it does take a conscious choice by our residents to two things: become aware, and two, to heed those warnings. And we'll continue that.
I agree 100%. And just to say, you know, before the word was out on Butte Fire, I could see the smoke from Valley Springs. So, you know, I knew there was a fire.
They happen quick, yeah.
I thank you. I just wanted to say also, I mean, we are an outdoor community, and this is where the boxes that you were talking about that Sheriff Rick was trying to put forward. A lot of times people are out enjoying our areas and won't have cell service, and do they go back to their rental unit before they leave? I mean, I think we will catch a lot of people that won't actually be getting information, I guess is what I'm saying, and to Ben's point.
Yeah, there's a technology gap. I mean, everything predominantly relies on cell phones. I do know the WIA utilizes, even if you know that icon on an iPhone that just shows satellite, but you can't make a call. I think it's GMPRS or something. It'll operate on that, so it'll receive. But there is topographical barriers to receiving it, and that's where we will put deputies. It's where we will, it's really hard to miss in Calaveras County and in California because there's so much aircraft that's used to fight fires. It gets people's eyes up. And when you get your eyes up, you see smoke, two and two together there. But we will always continue to look for the next technological thing that we can utilize and apply for grant funding on or come to you for appropriation on. But until those exist, we're going to do what we can with what we have.
Can I ask you, because also this Saturday, is it GPRS, the radio?
No, I think that's the phone setting, the icon that I'm not smart in technology, so it's the one that has the satellite. It's the sat reception. I've had it out hunting in the middle of Colorado, and
I can't remember
I think it's GPRS. Yeah,
GPRS. I do think that actually. I mean, there's a group that's gotten together in my district that are using those. And when the Arrow fire happened, I got home. I had no power, no cell coverage. The idea of having a radio like that, and I know that they'll be there Saturday. I'd love to investigate that with you.
And I did just hear about that FM alert that Sheriff Rick had talked about. We're going to look back into that, especially with the SDRs. We discussed that this week, actually. Like I said, as I learn of technology or new technologies develop, we'll look to implement it. What I was talking about is the wireless emergency alert, that even if your phone has that icon on it, but it's not on a Verizon network right now, right? You'll still receive that. That's
the GPS. You're talking about the blue one that looks like the satellite thing.
Yeah.
That's when you're actually using your GPS that it notifies you that it's being used, even if people are tracking
Yeah, so it's similar to like FirstNet, if you've ever done that. FirstNet set priority for emergency responders that registered on the cell towers, but that it goes a step farther, and it's a federal program because, you know, the entire western United States has this topographical issue, and where's the most active fires and intense fires? The West. So it does operate on a level of, even if your phone isn't connected to LTE or 5G, that you can receive that. It's still not going to catch 100% of people, though.
Thank you, Director Holt. Other questions from the board? No. One of the things, Supervisor Stopper, the sirens come up every single town hall we have in West Point. It's a continuing, so I could almost recite what Sheriff Rick used to say, which was, to the ants analogy, they want to control, they don't want to send up the flare and everybody scatter, putting their RVs on the road, blocking traffic. Sheriff was very adamant about that. He wanted to be a controlled exit.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the air raid sirens. I've literally had a phone call last week and this week about that exact one, and for that reason, I'm not a fan, because I think it places more people in danger, and we've got to make that risk management decision there. And so, what we do know works is the systems that we're using.
You know, one of the things I wanted to suggest was, since our meeting with the Fire Safe Council and Supervisor Hubbard struck a note, when we have the fire, I know that up in District 2, we've got the fire districts have maps with everybody's location on it, because we found out during the Butte fire that the internet wasn't working. Somebody, mutual aid, comes up from Orange County, they don't know where they're going.
Right.
Because they don't have a GPS. But the maps were very helpful. I was wondering, all of us as county employees are disaster emergency workers, so you could press us into service.
You got it.
Do we have public works guys and gals are very busy during a disaster. They're not going to be able to direct traffic or assist. Do you have a cohort of volunteers from within our county staff that are specially trained, maybe beyond what their
for MAP
courses to direct traffic if Public Works and CHP is not available? Fire's got their own stuff to deal with.
GIS has been amazing in their support, and I think that would be who we would go to and say, hey, let's print these off, and then we'll have somebody. We can pretty much designate anybody, but somebody that's knowledgeable of the county that says, here's the map, and we'd have those briefings as resources came into the area. We definitely don't want to just send them out, learning the road at night, right?
Right. I guess my question is, do you want to train, do you have employees that are, maybe you're in Health and Human Services and you're an enrollment person, well, that's a very important job, but can they be also trained in traffic direction or helping your staff?
Oh, absolutely.
With bodies. Do you need more bodies?
Yeah, soon to be retired supervisors. I'm going to keep your number.
I'll cover.
No, we
2 ways in and out. So
that is the beautiful part of the disaster service worker program, which a lot of employees aren't really even aware of at some points. But I talked early on in my position here of educating and holding those classes and certifying everybody to the basic level. We can very quickly and rapidly take somebody that has no knowledge of anything and give them a function in the operation that is simple, right? Direct traffic, stop them on this direction and send them that direction. And that's your only, we can do that pretty quickly.
We used to have volunteers under CERT. Is that still going, and is that a possibility of expanding our abilities?
So CERT falls under the Special District Fire Protection Districts. I do know that there are a few. Copperopolis, I know, has one that's active. It doesn't fall under my purview, so I'm always willing to meet with them and provide training and everything, but I don't have that direct relationship with ensuring that they're kind of staying maintained, at least at this juncture. In the future we'll see if there's another avenue, but as it is now and as it will remain for now, they fall under the fire protection districts.
Yeah, I know that with the Sheriff's Department, their volunteers are excellent.
Yeah.
They do great work. Perhaps we could assist our fire departments in their CERT programs.
Yeah,
and actually bring that note up with the JPA, and let's find out what it is and be proactive on that.
Yeah, I scheduled at some point, without looking at my calendar, to meet with Copperopolis' lead CERT, and I know they all talk together and train together. But I do know that the Sheriff's Volunteer Program is hugely successful, and we would utilize them in a heartbeat to go out to a main, thoroughfare between, Hollow Road and Mountain Ranch Road or something, where the dirt roads can get pretty confusing if you're not from here. I can attest to being gone for 20 years and coming back. Navigating those is a little challenging. So having somebody that's trained in ICS and NIMS that can safely be in that location and guide, we would do that very quickly.
Am I on Doster or Hover?
I got a separate app on my phone I use when I'm rock crawling way out in the wilderness and everything, because
Onyx or something?
we don't no Gaia.
Okay.
GPS. But it's with that one essentially, because the GPS works. It doesn't matter where you're at, because
Yeah.
it's coming from the satellites the whole time. So you could have no service, but you download the map prior to going out, and then you actually have the map on your phone, and the GPS works the entire time. So you do have maps that are accessible using the phone, as long as you get everyone to download that before they enter the fire area.
Yeah, I don't want to endorse any specific company, but there are a multitude.
I'm just saying the one I use. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's the company I'm endorsing.
Yeah, for me.
It's there.
Yeah, and I definitely recommend, if you live in an area that's loses cell quickly, loses power quickly, if power goes down, the internet goes down, to take your advice there. Download that map, and we can actually, that's a good bridge. We got neighboring agencies coming in. We can actually have our shapefiles loaded into their viewer on their tablets or phones, and so we can utilize that. So thank you for that.
Okay, but this is an action item, so we'll call for public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online?
We have no online public comment.
I'll bring it back for further discussion or a motion by the board.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Supervisor Stopper, second by Supervisor Hubbard. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Peter, you're up.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good plan. Good plan.
What I learned about sirens in the old days for me.
You're good. No, you're fine. I'm going to turn this mic on.
Yeah, that's a new bottleneck.
That's, yeah.
I love air raid with sirens. I'll buy them for the whole county.
Air raids at least get their attention.
We can all identify those planes when they fly up and down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Which number is on the tail?
Which fire it's been on?
I think just run out and hear it. Well, PTSD.
Yeah. Get shot with red dust all over you.
Doesn't come off.
Yeah.
Where's Lee Kimball?
Okay. Item,
Kathy, welcome. We'll be reading number 30.
30. Item 30, action item, economic and community development. Receive a presentation on the permanent local housing allocation and provide direction to staff on the potential reallocation of PLHA funds to workforce housing projects.
Thank you, Kathy.
Good morning, Chair Garamendi, Honorable Board, Kathy Galino, Economic and Community Development, and I'm here today to talk about a very exciting opportunity for developing workforce housing in our county. Okay, maybe. There we go. So quick overview. I know I'm the only thing holding you back from lunch. I'm going to give a quick overview on the PLHA program as it is today. Also options for looking forward for workforce housing. And then I'm going to be asking for direction and discussion from the board. So the background on PLHA, it's part of the Building Homes and Local Job Act that was established in 2017. There's a $75 recording fee on real estate transactions, and that funding comes back to the county of origin. So it's a significant funding source going forward and that we're utilizing now. Currently, we're in a 5-year plan that goes from 2019-2020 to 23-24. Over the course of this 5-year period, we will receive approximately $1.23 million in funding to address our housing concerns and needs in Calaveras County. And the funds are very flexible. Well, I'm not going to say very flexible, but they're flexible according to California Housing and Community Development into 10 different types of opportunities. So currently we're under 2 particular plans, 2 particular programs that the board approved in 2021. There's a down payment assistance program that we have that's 80% of the funding, 15% for home modification for those that are disabled or elderly and need assistance with things in their home, such as ramps and grab bars. 5% of the funds are for administrative activities. So currently we have $512,000 in the fund. It's under HHSA's budget. We anticipate, and actually CEO Hitchcock signed the application or the release of or request for funds for $620,000 that are for years 21-22 through 22-23. We should be receiving those shortly. We don't know what the amounts are for 23-24 because we don't know what our complete total real estate transactions will be, so we don't know exactly what's going to be there. And the funding needs to be spent, this round of funding, this 5-year cycle, needs to be spent by 2030. So options for direction. During the Strategic Planning and Finance Committee that the board has, one of the directions that we were asked to look at, and Peter was there and other folks, was to look at workforce housing opportunities. We know that we have a shortage of affordable workforce housing for our county employees, our hospital workers, our school teachers, line staff, everybody. It's hard to find a place to rent or to buy. So the PLHA funds can be utilized for the acquisition, pre-development, development of rental and home ownership opportunities. This really focuses down on an area that I feel very strongly is important in our county and our communities, and meets the needs of our workforce that are earning between 80 and 120% of area median income. Now, I know you guys probably don't know what that means, but it's pretty much, I would say, a significant portion of the employees in Calaveras County, not just at the county, but in the county as a whole. So for a family of 3, that income would be around $105,000 a year to $110,000. So that's a pretty healthy income. Also, PLHA funding can be used in combination with other funding programs, such as our REAP, which is our regional funding for pre-development, development, permitting for housing development. The REAP 2.0, I believe there's about $1.8 million in there now, can be used for offsetting permitting fees. Can't be used for infrastructure improvements, but it can be used for a whole host of things. And this PLHA funding in combination with that would be a good opportunity, again, to look at housing. So the discussion. So there's an opportunity for the county to look at R3 zoned, which is multifamily housing type properties for purchase, pre-development. There is 2 that are fairly close in this area that are in walkable communities. So again, low vehicle miles traveled, which is always a positive in developing housing. We're not looking at doing apartment complexes or things of that nature. I think where we need to focus is more in our townhomes and duplex type living environments. And this is just from the feedback that I've had from talking to community members. So the discussion really is, is there an opportunity for us to do a public-private partnership with either a for-profit developer or a nonprofit developer? Is there appetite from the board to really go forward and try and do this kind of new idea? I don't see other counties that are rural that are doing this particular thing. We have 2 current programs. So do we want to include the third workforce opportunity where we can go look for property that might be available? We could rehab property, but I think it would be best to probably look at something that already has utilities stubbed in and has infrastructure already in place, where we can actually really work to get it pre-developed and very lucrative, or not lucrative, but very attractive to a developer to then take on the property to build the housing and move it forward for rental and also home ownership. So also before you is, do we want to reallocate the funding that we have now, the $512,000 plus the $620,000, and what might be coming in 23-24 funding? Or do we want to maintain the 2 programs with the down payment assistance or the home modification? What I will say about the home modification is there are programs existing now through Area 12 on Aging, as well as Habitat for Humanity, that have programs available to Calaveras County residents for grab bars and those types of things to make their homes safe so that they can stay in their homes. Health and Human Services Agency, Lee Kimball, who's our housing manager, has gotten ready to launch the down payment assistance program, but decided to wait when we started having these conversations. There's been support of moving this project forward, but the decision is ultimately up to the board, how they want to move forward with this potential item. And if so, then we would come back with an amended plan to include the workforce housing piece. So now I leave it up to you, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Where's Lee Kimball?
She's on vacation.
I haven't seen her for one of these meetings in quite some time.
She'll be back tomorrow.
Oh. Okay. Look, we can't use it for infrastructure.
Providing assistance to those that need assistance, whether it's down payment assistance, grab bars, wraparound services, different types of services. I'm more about actually looking at things getting constructed and built.
That's where I'm getting to. Well, second of all, this is generally, it dances between planning and Health and Human Services, but we don't have Health and Human Services here either, right?
They're supportive, and they were.
I mean, but this is part of their wheelhouse. It goes. Most of this money is funneled through Health and Human Services agencies throughout the state for the most part.
I'm not sure about that, but so just back up a moment. Answer your question as far as the Health and Human Services Agency participation in this. For several years now, her position was partially funded by planning, partially funded by Health and Human Services. This past budget, we have separated that. Lee's area of expertise with housing is really the Health and Human Services Agency, so she is now 100% Health and Human Services. Planning has taken over the development component of housing, which is what Kathy is sort of now in charge of, working with me to look at where can we build housing, where can we get housing built to support our workforce in the county. And there's a number of sites we've been sort of looking at, but what we're asking for today is, do we continue with the program that we have in place right now, which has been approved by your board and by the state, that we're going to use these PLHA funds for the programs that Lee and HHSA has set up, or we want to funnel some of that money or even all of that money into identifying pre-development and then working potentially with a developer to construct housing. And that is in the planning development wheelhouse.
CEO is talking very patient.
So, Peter, So Peter has talked of this. We're trying to make a very clear delineation because we do believe that Lee does a good job with the services side of the house, but we haven't done much with the development side. One of the things I think is key with this PLHA funding, because it is state funding, we can use it to match federal programs. So it'll give us a lot of opportunity for leveraging funds in order to get housing developed. And that's really what we're trying to do, is figure out creative ways to offset some cost of housing for a lot of our just regular folks who work in the county.
So to get to the point, I mean, I hear you, but our roadblock is very simple, and I'm beating the same old drum that I've said many times. And it's the same roadblock we hit in just about every area. We can't use this money on infrastructure. That's our cost. That's our prohibitive measure. I mean, sure, you use it to go after things with federal money. I'm all supportive of that. Would that hinder us on doing a match for federal money coming in for infrastructure? And the hard thing is, we don't do the infrastructure. This is a conundrum here in Calaveras County. I mean, some counties do the water and wastewater, So at this point, it's partnership and moving forward. But I mean, this is it. I mean, look, we can provide the money for what we've already talked about. We could exempt permit fees. You know, we could go Title 25 and actually get around some of the extra cost on building for affordable housing needs. But if we can't put a house there because we don't have sewer.
So what I will tell you.
So Supervisor Stopper, you do bring up a very good point. We do have very limited areas where there is infrastructure to support additional housing. However, we have identified some sites where there is infrastructure already in place. That's why we think it's important that if we have those sites, we have the letter that we sent out last time. Stanislaus Housing Authorities reached out to us. We'll be talking to them about their site that has infrastructure already in place. We've identified some other places as well. So we're trying to put the entire package together. As you've indicated, it is very problematic to find sites that already have infrastructure available. That will be something that we'll be looking at for the future as well.
So I'm in favor of moving towards the pre-development phase based on that. It's going to be a very fine, focused area to be able to be successful with. But going down to it, looking at this amount of money, you'll eat that up quick in one little spot. So,
Supervisor Hubbard, Supervisor Hubbard?
Thank you. So you could use these funds for repurposing a building, is that correct?
It could be used for repurposing an existing residential facility.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Toffenali?
There are a couple of developers that have in-ground infrastructure, and there's one in my area, my district right now, that there's a possibility there could be some partnership there for what we're looking for. There are some other sites that were brought up, but this one, I think in particular, there's a number of houses that are going in there. They haven't started on it yet, but the infrastructure is there. I have a meeting on November 4th with Public Works with this developer regarding this project that maybe we can talk to him about somewhat and some type of partnership to move forward with this money. $1.1 million is not, when you're looking at the big picture thing, it's not a whole
it doesn't
lot
go
of
far.
money.
No.
But it is enough to where we can get our workforce. That infrastructure is in there and building and having. I'm seeing that we have 80% of the funds is going towards the down payment assistance towards them, which is very big because a lot of people may be able to have the ability to make payments, but they don't have the ability because of the family, if they have 2 or 3 kids, rather, to have the money together for a big down payment in order to get it to where they need in order to have the loan go through. So there are several areas in the county that we can look at and look at the partnership, and there's a couple of developers that are have projects in the offing right now, and I don't know how soon they're going to be coming forward. It seems like they've been there for a while. But there's an opportunity there in the future, if those developments come forward, that we can at least maybe have some type of partnership with them.
Absolutely.
All right. Supervisor Stopper, you have another comment?
I may have an emergency.
All right.
Can I just have a second?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll continue this if you're all right with that. Okay, so let's use this opportunity for public comment. Now, right? I know that Golden State Finance Authority, which we are a member of, provides down payment assistance similar to this.
Correct.
I don't think, and I know that Health and Human Services has programs to also cover some of these type programs for senior citizens upgrading their house. So the question before us is, do we want to change course? And then, do we want to change course?
What you just brought up, the qualifications could be different, though. It could be much more stricter than we have the ability here as a county for down payments. So there's could be a couple of different things here. At least this money, if we continue where we're at and the way it is, we have some control over that. Where the other restrictions could be people may have tried to get in the restrictions on it or the qualifications for it. Those down payment may not be able to fit them, so they can't qualify. Am I correct on that?
Can you repeat that again?
What he was bringing up about HHSA and these other opportunities for down payment loans or whatever you want to call them, some people may not be able to fit within the qualifications to get those
correct
loans, and I think they're loans. This here we're not talking about a loan here.
No, this is Golden State Finance Authority offers a down payment assistance program that after a number of years is 100% forgiven.
And I'm not sure on the Golden State Finance Authority whether that's only for county employees.
No.
It's for anybody that's in a rural county or in one of the RCRC counties.
It's the criteria.
Initially, it's a loan, though.
It is.
It is a loan.
Forgivable loan.
But it's a forgivable loan, I believe.
Loan, this is a different program.
Right.
That's why I'm saying the qualification, because it is a loan, may be higher than what we could have here.
Right, but we never do we ever write up our qualifications, and are they different?
So I know that Lee was working on finalizing the loan down payment assistance program and the criteria, how to qualify for that. I don't have that available.
That was ready to go. She was going to launch that last week, but because we were reading the item forward, she held off on that. So those criteria are established. The program is ready to launch immediately. I think our question here is, do we just stay the course with that, or do we shift some or all of that into this potential program for us to do more investigation before we bring back an actual plan? Because whatever we decide to do, you need to approve that plan, which we can then submit to the state to say, yes, this meets the qualifications for this type of funding. And we would bring back to you details of how much, what percentage would go towards this program, those kinds of things. We haven't worked out because we really haven't gotten direction that that's where you want to go. Do you want to spend resources, county resources, in looking at how we can use some of this money for actual construction of housing?
So,
Teresa?
Chair Garamendi, could I make a suggestion? Since we had already allocated the $500 and something thousand to those other two programs, if we could just leave those programs, Lee can get those up and running. We'll see how those go. And then the new allocation that we're getting, the $622,000, I think it is, be allocated towards the development services side of it, so that we can take a look at how we might leverage those sources with other sources, as well as forming those public-private partnerships for development.
Okay. We've had public comment in the interest of moving this along. I will call the question. Is there a motion on this board?
I have a question for what
Supervisor Foldner?
So what you just said, if if that program is not able to spend all of that 500, are we able to then use whatever's left over and put towards the 600?
I believe we would have to bring an amendment forward and get that approved, and then.
But we could bring it if we come closer to that time. I don't believe we would, but if there's money left over, we could do an amendment and put it toward this program?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Now, what is your motion, Ben?
Teresa's suggestion. No.
Teresa, do you want to restate your suggestion so the board can be clear on what the motion is?
My suggestion is to leave the original allocation as is with the split between the down payment assistance and the home modification program, and then to move the new allocation into the new program, which is the development, pre-development, and construction funding.
That's the way I understood it.
Discussion.
I think that gives us options, and if we want to change it later, we can.
Well, okay, we have a motion on the floor. I think we ought to put all the money into this because obviously.
All the money into the loan thing?
No. Into the pre-development.
Oh,
work that's
okay.
going
Yeah,
on.
no, actually, but I thought you were pushing the Golden State thing, so that's why I was being open. So I would like to retract before we do a second.
All right, you can amend your motion?
Yeah, I'm going to amend my motion. I would like to put it all towards pre-development.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
That leaves me with a question. Does this leave Lee in a real pickle then?
Lee's.
She has not implemented the program yet because she's been developing program criteria, and we actually didn't have the funding before. Okay. So she wasn't able to implement a program that she didn't actually have the funding in hands for. But she has put some groundwork into developing the criteria for both of those programs.
Is there a second for Supervisor Stopper's motion? I will second Supervisor Stopper's motion. The motion is to move all this money into pre-development work. Correct?
Sure.
All right. Madam Clerk, looks like we got a split board, so why don't you call this roll?
Start with 5.
Go ahead, we'll start with 5.
All right, District 5.
That's your motion,
No, I was on the line struggle. No. They can hear me through Jack's.
Okay.
Supervisor Stopper is a yes?
Aye.
Okay. District 4. District 3.
No.
District 2.
Aye.
District 1.
No.
Okay.
All right, so is there an alternative motion?
I would move what CEO Teresa had brought up. We keep the 514 where it is, and then pre-development with the 620.
With the proviso that anything's left over
can go into the 620.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then also, what about the final year? So 23, 24, we don't have yet. We don't even know how much it is. That will come to development.
That's what he's talking about. That's going
So-
into the pre-development.
The 600 plus going forward goes into pre-development.
And then
The other remainder remains in the same split?
But then the unknown amount for 23, 24, I would just move that when we receive those funds, we'll see where we're at on the first funding, the 514, and we're 512, and we can go forward with that. So that would be my motion.
Is everybody clear what the motion is? Kathy, are you clear with the motion?
I am, thank you.
All right. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Hubbard. Madam Clerk, will you
Aye.
please call the roll? And let's go 1 through 5. since
District
one made the
1.
motion.
District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
No.
District 3.
Aye.
District 4. District 5.
Aye.
Okay. Passes 4.
All right. Passes 4-1.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dad. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 31.
Item 31, action item, Clerk of the Board of Supervisors, select one member of the Board of Supervisors to act as the 24-25 CSAC representative and one member to act as the alternate for the CSAC Association beginning November 18th, 2024. I will note that last year we did have an alternate plus a secondary alternate as well, just to mention.
Let's start with the primary.
Because one was not going to show up to something and Martin was added, is that correct?
Yes, we had a primary
All right.
alternate, and then Supervisor Huberty was the secondary alternate, correct?
I would like to express my interest in continuing with where I'm at.
Would anybody else like to be CSAC representative from this board? Okay, is anybody interested in being the alternate?
Who else is going?
I mean, it's for the whole year. We're going to conference, but who wants to be the alternate? Is anybody else interested in being the alternate?
If you want to continue the way it is, because it's not just this conference, it's the next year.
Right, the
So
next
if you're
year.
not able to make them, I don't know if it worked out. I mean,
We can figure out as we go. I'm not worried.
We got the item in front of us.
keep status quo.
Seems like there's.
Is that so you're expressing being alternate and him being secondary? Or?
I'll be secondary, he can be alternate.
Okay, well, someone would need to make that.
So you'll be the third in line.
Yeah.
All right. So this is an action item. Is there any public comment on this?
We have no online public comment.
No public comment in the room. I believe the motion would be to have Supervisor Stopper be the primary, Supervisor Huberty be the alternate, Supervisor Fultendorf to be the backup alternate.
I'll move that.
Moved by Supervisor Toffenelli. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Fullendorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Good job. I think we could. I think
Can
we
we
got
go-
it easy. We got a 5. All right, Madam Clerk.
Supervisors' announcements. In compliance with Government Code 53232.3D, board members shall provide brief reports on any meetings attended at the expense of the local agency and may make other announcements or report out.
Supervisor Stopper began with nothing to add, so we'll go Supervisor Toffenelli.
I have nothing.
Supervisor Fullendorf.
Nothing.
Supervisor Huberty.
I would like to just say that this Thursday night, the Big Trees is having a meeting regarding the prescribed burn. We've been trying to do this prescribed burn for the last couple of years. It's 1,300 acres in the South Grove. It is, I believe, if not the largest, one of the largest prescribed burns in California. And also just to mention again that the Winterwise Town Hall is at 9 o'clock this Saturday in Arnold. Actually, sorry, White Pines.
Susan? All right, we stand adjourned.
I think you had somebody for public comment now. It's been there for quite a while.
Recording. Hi, I'm Sean Seal, and this is
Jill Seal.
and we're the owners of Sierra Nevada Adventure Company. When we started selling kayaks, of course, we had to stock stuff, and we needed a lot of room for kayaks. So our home and our garage was the back stock for my pickup truck. And